Part 293. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2933. Please come in. That domain lord level existence should be a guy who has always dealt with people, so he didn't have any doubts and just let Jia Yan into the dark side. If you really want to stop him, others will get angry. Don't mention whether there is any misunderstanding. Just say that this shady scene cannot withstand the strength of an obvious domain lord level or above, and he can't stop him from entering the shady scene. Entering the inside of the shady scene, Jia Yan suddenly felt that there was a different world. Inside the black screen, there are giant display cabinets and counters. I don't know what means they used to build the various counters. They were really big enough for a 50-kilometer-long monster like him to walk around. My friend, this is the offshore mall where I pass the customs. The items in it are genuine. If you are interested in buying them, I can give you a 10% discount card. The domain lord level smiled and said to Jia Yan. 99% off. I am so generous. Jia Yan almost rolled his eyes. However, he also somewhat understood that in the Northern Territory, there would be no preferential treatment for the strong, because as a being who has clearly reached or even exceeded the territory lord level, he will gain great benefits if he goes to the trading place of many forces. And preferential treatment, but there is none here. Of course, it cannot be ruled out that the person in charge has no vision and is very rigid. He also enjoyed not being taken seriously. Don't be in a hurry to buy items. Jia Yan suddenly interrupted the words of this domain lord level powerhouse. Huh? My friend, aren't you a powerful traveler? Why aren't you interested in hearing about the special goods in my mall? Maybe you will be interested. I said, in addition to transactions, I also want to get some information. In order to avoid forgetting the information after buying something, I will ask you about the information first. Do you agree? Of course there is no problem with this, but please forgive me for not revealing information about important allies and customers to you. This is a matter of basic principles of doing business. Jia Yan nodded. He believes in the other party's business principles. Of course, he also believes that this principle can be changed. For example, if he asks a question that he cannot answer, and then shows some strength, I am afraid that his principle will be thrown to the west. So Jia Yan smiled sincerely, and the other party also smiled broadly. That's right, the information I need is not about your port's core secrets, and most likely it won't have much to do with your port's customers. Jia Yan smiled and said, I would like to ask, has any strong person appeared here recently with a bunch of strong flesh and blood? Strong flesh and blood. The domain lord level powerhouse's demeanor changed, and then he looked around clearly, and quietly placed a brainwave power defense shield. Sir, the flesh and blood you are talking about must be the physical body of one of your great enemies, right? Oh? You actually know, if you can tell me the news, I will be deeply grateful. Jia Yan's demeanor of not having high expectations immediately changed. Although he came with the intention of asking and making inquiries, he did not expect that the results would come out of his inquiry, which was also somewhat unexpected. Unexpectedly, the territory lord smiled thoughtfully and said, Friend, actually, although I know a little bit about the inside story, I don't understand it deeply. In addition, the things I heard from hearsay may affect my friends if I tell them. There's no telling what his big plan is. Jia Yan's heart paused, and then he understood. A resource object that is also helpful to the domain lord level flew out of the subspace next to Jia Yan. I won't say much more. If your friend is willing to tell you the information he knows, this item can be used as a reward, but you have to ensure that the information is true, otherwise, you know. Jia Yan never thought about getting everything he wanted with his own strength in a place he was unfamiliar with. These people are not familiar with him, so how could they casually inform him of the information? Especially the powerful people in such a distribution center are just businessmen. If they don't give anything, how can they get anything in return? The territory lord level seemed a little surprised. He looked at what Jia Yan handed over. His expression was not only not happy, but also serious. He did not accept the gift, but said calmly, "Friend, this gift is a bit expensive. I'm afraid I can't bear it. How about this, I will tell you the information, and you can give me some money depending on the situation. I can guarantee that I heard the information with my own ears, but I can't guarantee its authenticity. Do you think this is good?" Jia Yan smiled, and now he felt that the guy in front of him fit his image of a smart person. The territory lord's object was withdrawn into the subspace, and he said calmly, "Then please tell your friends, and please believe me. I will not treat you badly for this small gain." The territory lord level existence looked at the object that was also useful for his own cultivation with great difficulty, flew into the subspace, and then deliberately did not look at it. Kui Ren said quickly, "I won't beat around the bush. According to a piece of news I heard some time ago, there was a distant domain lord level powerhouse who joined forces with the Bai family forces next door. However, the alliance did not succeed. Not long after, this domain lord the main level dragged the corpse of a powerful man with astonishing strength from the secondary space. It is rumored that, it may be a senior domain lord level." As he spoke, the territory lord appeared and looked at Jia Yan with profound eyes. If before, he only thought that Jia Yan, a mosquito-shaped biological powerhouse, was just a huge domain lord level, but after staying for a long time, he could feel that the strength he deliberately concealed was as dignified as an abyss, and he was probably far away. Above oneself. Combined with the fact that this visitor was searching for the body of the senior domain lord, let's think about why the senior domain lord died. He couldn't help but shudder. What's the name of that domain lord? When Jia Yan heard what the domain master said, he knew that he had found the right person, but the other party obviously knew the name of the guy who took the body of the white dolphin, but he kept silent. Puff. The territory lord that disappeared before was also of great use. It flew out into the normal starry sky again and came to the opponent. "Friend, what do you mean? From your business power, I feel that you are a person who values commitment, but this matter is very important to me, and I can guarantee that if that domain lord level friend is willing to hand back what belongs to me, I will. If you tell me this person's name, you are not harming him, but saving him. After all, if I arrive late and the things are processed by him, I will definitely take his life. How about it? If you are willing to say that this treasure still belongs to you, and you can save people and get benefits, why not do it?" When he said these words, Jia Yan spoke with dignity. When the other party heard it, they all felt as if they were really the embodiment of justice. "If I don't say anything, I'm sorry for the territory lord who took away the body of the white dolphin. I'm also sorry for Jia Yan, and I'm even more sorry for myself, because his strength is stuck at an important stage of the territory lord. Without the things Jia Yan took out to practice, I'm afraid you will be stuck at this critical level for a long time." That's all. The other party looked completely determined and accepted the item Jia Yan threw in front of him. Jia Yan allowed the other party to take what he gave. There is no worry at all that this person will take the advantage and do nothing, because the other party should also be able to guess his own strength, and he is much stronger than him. That territory lord level friend, his name is Ruotai. He is a thing 300 light years away, the second leader of the Iron Beast star. In addition, this Iron Beast star is extremely powerful. It is said that the big leader has reached the level of senior domain lord. My friend, that's all. I won't say anything more about him being beaten to death. The domain lord level spoke frankly about the information about the strong man who stole what Jia Yan wanted. As if he was really on the righteous side. Of course, in Jia Yan's eyes, this person is just. Haha, thank you very much, My friend. Your Excellency has saved many lives with your righteousness. I would like to thank you on behalf of those people and say goodbye. Jia Yan looked up to the sky and smiled, and then his figure gradually retreated into the depths of subspace. The territory lord who watched Jia Yan enter the subspace seemed to have just remembered some information. He was thoughtful and said to himself, "Giant Mosquito, it is said that the Bai family alliance is fighting with Xiang. We are fighting in a place controlled by a neighboring clan called the Evolved Beast. My friend, it is said that the Iron Beast clan once had a big feud with the Evolved Beast clan. Well, I am just talking to myself, please don't take it seriously. Thanks." After the words fell, the sounds in the subspace gradually faded away. This territory lord was on the normal starry sky, looking up at the direction where the giant mosquito disappeared, and did not make any movement for a long time. Finally, he shook his head and sighed, returning to the center of the distribution center where he was. "Hey, the evolved beasts that have been causing trouble for tens of thousands of years, I'm afraid he still doesn't know that this clan is much more famous in this starry sky than imagined. After hundreds of thousands of years, such an astonishing existence of evolved beasts appears again. I wonder how big a disturbance this time will cause in this starry sky. Tell the young ones, our Chamber of Commerce will close in a few days." Deep in the subspace, Jia Yan, who had already boarded the palace and left, did not hear the meaningful words of the domain lord level powerhouse behind him. If he could hear it, he might be able to taste something from it. But even if he doesn't understand it now, he will understand it before long. And these things are irrelevant to him now. Is it another transfer of hundreds of light years? During this period, my mental energy absorption has reached a certain stage of stagnation. Why not take the time to take a look at the current situation within Orion's arm? Jia Yan has always been someone who cares about the Orion arm, or the Earth. He stopped thinking wildly, and not long after returning to the center of the palace, he used some mental energy to go to a distant place on the Earth. At the same time, in the center of the Orion arm, which was unknown how far away, and inside the starry sky where the Earth was, there was a strong humanoid man who silently opened his eyes in the starry sky. He is Jia Yan's earthly clone. Hey, it's quite lively in the starry sky. Jia Yan originally used his clone to live in the starry sky. Because the recent Earthlings have become much better at exploiting the starry sky, he began to not only prevent the Earth from being harmed, but also simply put his clone somewhere in the solar system. On a wandering asteroid. But when he woke up, he thought that no one should be around, but he found a row of starships not far away, sailing in the vacuum of space. And this starship is still the kind that travels in the starry sky. This is a graduation trip to a certain college on Earth. Even in the starry age, any school on Earth that allows students to go on a space-style graduation trip is a school with considerable capital. Therefore, the people in these spaceships are all either rich or noble, or outstanding young people. There is no bloodline related to me, but, young people traveling on Earth can see what they are doing. Jia Yan's return this time is nothing more than to see the current situation of the Earth and understand how the people on Earth have become after a few years since he left. So before returning to Earth, there is nothing wrong with getting information from these spacecrafts. Jia Yan smiled, and his figure entered one of the spaceships with a whoosh. Not to mention whether his current body is suitable for appearing in those spaceships, even if he is not suitable, with his current ability, he can easily change the appearance of the avatar. Soon, inside a spaceship that carried the most passengers, there were more students who looked familiar but could not name them. All you can see are dazzled young men and women. Dance, tisk tisk, are these old-era hedonisms starting to show up in a big way again? I remember that I made rules to keep these things as rare as possible. Jia Yan couldn't laugh or cry. This group of young talents were walking around gracefully. Men and women gathered together. Some of the brave ones even hugged each other in the space where there were few people on the spacecraft. Of course, in fact, It doesn't matter. How can humans reproduce if they don't understand romance? Jia Yan didn't care, and just walked through many people, and then walked to a fat man who didn't seem to have that many friends. The little fat man was sitting on the sofa, holding a glass of wine in his hand. He drank half of it. He looked at Jia Yan, who was sitting next to him. He didn't feel unhappy at all. He just didn't speak and drank half a glass of strong wine. In this era where everyone is practicing, being able to get young talents drunk is definitely something. Jia Yan picked up the wine glass brought by the waiter, took a sip, and nodded with satisfaction. It has to be said that after entering the interstellar society, the living standards of the entire Earth people have been much higher. Just like the wine glass you are holding in your hand now, if it were placed in the era before the metal crisis, it would probably be sold to the sky. The key is not the taste. After all, the taste varies from person to person. The most important thing is that after drinking this wine, it will have a strong alcoholic feel, which will make people feel happy, but not addictive. And it will also cause some discomfort afterwards, which also prevents people from being greedy for this thing. After all, if there were no such negative effects, it would be classified as some kind of contraband. And those spiritually forbidden things were the most disgusting things for Jia Yan at the beginning. No matter who dared to reach out to this area, there was no room for negotiation in killing him. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2934. This wine tastes so beautiful. I feel so comfortable after drinking it that I forget my worries. Jia Yan said to himself. The fat man looked at him again, said nothing, and took another sip of wine. It's quite generous, brother, come on, let me toast you. Jia Yan smiled and stretched out his glass, forcibly touched it with the other person's glass, drank it all in one gulp, and gestured for it to be poured down. The little fat man still didn't speak. He picked up the wine glass and drank it all. However, after his mouth left the glass, he suddenly coughed several times. Have fun, waiter, give us 10 more cups. 10 cups? When the little fat man heard this number, his expression changed immediately. These wines are specially set by the Earth Alliance. Being able to drink them also means that you are strong enough. Of course, this must exclude some people with special physical conditions. For ordinary people at their level, 1 or 2 drinks would be fine. 5 drinks would be too much and they might get drunk. Why do you have such an expression? When you drink with a close friend, 1,000 cups are too little. I see that you are destined to me, how can I not drink to my heart's content? The little fat man opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But Jia Yan stopped him before he could speak, and said eloquently, sometimes, having a drink with strangers is also a way to relieve worries. You and I don't need to state our names, and we don't need to say anything more. Let's just talk. Let's drink, let's talk, brother, are you willing to accompany me to get drunk? The little fat man stopped what he wanted to say. After staring at Jia Yan carefully, he finally spoke. Okay. Get drunk and you'll be done with it. Just as the waiter brought 10 glasses of spirits, Jia Yan picked up one of them, drank it directly, and then poured the glass down to signal. The little fat man's eyes widened when he saw that he was really doing it. He gritted his teeth, picked up another glass, and poured it directly into his stomach. He also tipped the glass upside down to pretend to be bold. Refreshing. Come on, have a second cup, and then we can talk about things between us brothers. Jia Yan burst into laughter and downed the second drink with an expressionless expression. The little fat man already had circles under his eyes. It could be seen that Jia Yan drank a second glass of wine. Unexpectedly, without saying a word, he picked up the second glass of wine and drank it directly into his stomach. Have a good time, don't be impatient seeing the little fat man getting drunk, Jia Yan blushed and went to pick up the third cup, then stretched out his hand to stop him. This wine must be tasted slowly. Since we are so in love, drink it slowly. It's just that no one is urging you. Don't make a fool of yourself when you're drunk. Okay, I won't make a fool of myself. I don't want to make a fool of myself. I don't want to make a fool of myself. Why do I have to be exposed in front of everyone? The class made a fool of themselves. The little fat man burst into tears and runny nose without realizing it. You're drunk, Jia Yan said casually, picking up another glass of wine and draining it into his mouth, making the crowd of students watching the excitement around him jump with fear. That's 4 cups. In this era where strength means everything, the only explanation for being able to drink so much is that the young man in front of him looks familiar but cannot recognize who he is, and he is probably extremely strong. I'm not drunk. I don't want to make a fool of myself, but I'm not drunk. The little fat man, who thought he had not made a fool of himself, picked up the 4th glass of wine angrily and drank it all in one gulp. What's wrong with you, a student? How can you advise your classmates to drink like this? Which class are you in? Suddenly there was a noise among the students, and the female teacher wearing glasses fought her way through the crowd and entered in front of them. Teacher, Jia Yan shook his head and said cryptically, I am a new classmate in the new class. Do you believe me? I believe it. But don't let your classmates drink like this. Something will happen. The female teacher inexplicably agreed with Jia Yan's so-called new class. Under the influence of Jia Yan's brainwave power, I am afraid that even if he wants everyone present to self-destruct, they will do it without hesitation. But of course he's not that boring. Okay, I just won't let him drink. Jia Yan smiled, helped the little fat man up, and walked to the side. Brother, you caused me to be scolded by the teacher. Next, you have to answer some questions for me, otherwise I will not be happy. Oh, okay. The little fat man shook his head drunkenly, and was helped by Jia Yan to the overpass next to the giant glass. The scenery of the cosmic starry sky outside is quite beautiful. It must be said that after the outbreak of the tourism economy, the living standards of people on Earth have greatly improved. Life on Earth is so good now. Tell me, what are you worried about in such a good life? Jia Yan seemed to be an old friend. What a good thing. What a ghost. I don't dare to chase the girl I like when I see it. Wow, I'm even called a coward. When the little fat man mentioned this, he wanted to cry again. Jia Yan thought that indeed, no matter how much life is improved, there will eventually be emotional problems between men and women. Why bother, isn't it just a girl? Nowadays, there are many alien girls who are quite good. Marrying an Earthling is their lifelong dream, and it's not like they can't have children. Are you sure? If you marry an alien girl, you will be looked down upon, the little fat man cried sadly. What the hell? Jia Yan was stunned, and then he couldn't laugh or cry. Well, he came back last time and saw a large number of alien brides and grooms on the Earth. He thought that the Earth people had looked away and the races had merged. Unexpectedly, only a few years had passed, and a race came to protect itself. But that's right. If there were too many mixed bloods, if Jia Yan came back within a few hundred years, the streets would be full of weird Earthlings, which he wouldn't be able to accept. But this is obviously discriminating against aliens. It's not easy to find an Earthling girl, so why don't you think about changing yourself so that people don't look down on you? You should be a person with a background, get some genetic potions to improve your genes, and then find a strong teacher to train for a few years. Maybe he will become a talented young man. Are you still afraid that the girl will look down on you? The little fat man was stunned for a moment. Although he was drunk, his general judgment ability was still there. Do I have a background? You, who are you? His eyes were slightly wary. Jia Yan smiled calmly, shook his head and said, seeing how fat you are, I guess that you are either rich or noble. Anyway, you must have a background. Genetic medicine is nothing in this era. It's a little bigger, the family can buy it with some tricks. Maybe those female classmates you like have used genetic medicine to improve the effects of their genes. Jia Yan actually knew who the little fat man in front of him was. He was the child of a high-ranking Earth Alliance official. It's not that he has met the other party, it's just that with his strength reaching his level, it's easy to see clearly what's in his bloodline. The weaker he is, the clearer he can see it. I also want to use genetic medicine, but my father refuses. The little fat man cried for his father and mother, and talked about his father with great resentment. Valley. After listening to his unorganized complaint, Jia Yan realized that the other party's father was a firm supporter of the theory of purity of Earthlings. In other words, he is of the old antique school, and firmly believes that even if people on Earth want to become strong, they must train themselves, rather than becoming strong through a large number of external objects. This is a bit self-improvement. It's just a bit pedantic. Jia Yan knows that if a race wants to be pure, it can achieve a very pure model and enter the category of a powerful race without making a lot of genetic changes and practicing hard from generation to generation. But it is difficult, especially in the galaxy and starry sky. There is almost no ethnic group that has truly reached the stage of becoming a powerful race. They dare to say that their race genes have not undergone drastic changes in the process of development. It's even more difficult for people on Earth. They start at a low level, super low level. Because he has never experienced the era of interstellar civilization, but has directly reached the top of a large interstellar force, it can be said that Jia Yan alone has pulled him to a high status. At the same time, despite being admired by people from all over the world, the people of the Earth themselves were weak, and they quickly realized that their status was shaky and only relied on the protection of a strong man. Although there was no big problem, it was everywhere. Checks and balances affect the status of people on Earth. In addition to developing finance, with the control of the huge financial industry in the Orion Arm as a stepping stone, the status of the Earth's people has been initially stabilized by them, but the next step will be a steady stream, which cannot be done overnight, that is, to change all aspects of the Earth's people as a whole. Be strong. In addition to the financial economy, the key to this kind of strengthening is to make the whole economy stronger. So many people have set their sights on genetically modified drugs. This has long been known to everyone in the major races of the Orion Arm, especially within the interstellar races. The development of drugs for people on Earth was entrusted to several large civilizations for research. Even the research institutes of the great empires accepted such commissions and eventually launched several versions of potions for enhancing the effects of medicine on Earth. As for the effect, it definitely exists, but it will take time to verify which one is better and which one will perform better in a few generations. Speaking of which, this matter is neither good nor bad. Many people are saying that the large-scale use of genetically modified drugs will greatly reduce the upper limit of the human population on Earth and cause genetically uncontrollable consequences. This is why, in the early days, countless people used genetically modified drugs. After drugs, the current genetic drug market has slowly turned to zero, and countless people on Earth have chosen to reject it. Jia Yan had also understood this situation before. However, due to the limitation of his own knowledge level, he could not give a better conclusion on which aspect, so he just sat on the sidelines. I didn't expect that there would be such huge differences now. Hey, a real man, this won't work, that won't work either. If I were a girl, I wouldn't choose you. Jia Yan suddenly laughed. The little fat man's eyes turned red, he stared at Jia Yan and shouted, "What did you say?" I said, "Look around. You are the son of a high-ranking official, but you are looking forward and backward. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, just work hard." If you are embarrassed in front of so many people, do you think you have taken the family's face into consideration? No, you are just making your family more laughable. You. The little fat man's face turned red and he clenched his fists, as if he wanted to try whether his fists could swell the face of the person in front of him. However, this impulse only lasted for a few seconds, and he let go of his hand dejectedly. You're right, I'm a coward, I'm so useless, and I'm so angry with myself, but if I can't do it, I just can't do it. He wanted to cry again. Jia Yan sighed softly. In fact, Jia Yan can understand the little fat man's mood. Many times, humans are self-limiting creatures. In many situations, it's not that you can't do it, nor can you get out of the situation, but you have set limits for yourself, which prevents you from getting out. Just like the little fat man, he has all kinds of worries. To put it bluntly, no matter where he acts impulsively, he can get rid of the pain he is experiencing now. Although there is no guarantee that the future will be better, it is better than sitting in a city of sorrow and ending up decadent. There is a better chance of it. Bar. This is just an analogy, but this analogy is applicable to countless people who set limits on themselves. In fact, what many people are distressed about is the limitations they have set for themselves. They also realize that this is their own problem, but they cannot do it. Like the little fat guy, he can't do it. Therefore, in the painful emotions, in addition to complaining about others, it is more about complaining about the incompetence of oneself. This added to his pain. Hey, since you can't do it, let me help you. Jia Yan smiled, stretched out his hand, and grabbed the little fat man. The little fat man was supported by him, stumbling and dizzy, unable to struggle even if he wanted to. What are you doing? Where do you want to take me? I'll take you to make a decision, so I'll give you a push. Jia Yan chuckled. He didn't use extraordinary power. Although his identity was fake, until now, he had only behaved like an ordinary student. It's just that the little fat man was drunk and had no power to resist being helped. But what happens next is not something ordinary students can do. When we walked to the medical room of the sightseeing ship, there was no one on duty inside. Click. The little fat man was about to say that you can't open the door if it's closed, but he saw Jia Yan lightly touching the door lock, and the door lock opened by itself. Maybe the health room teacher forgot to close the door, just in time. What do you want to do? The little fat man has a pretty good drinking capacity, and he hasn't gotten drunk yet. Jia Yan didn't say anything, put the little fat man on the bed in the health room, and rummaged through the piles of bottles and cans. And he didn't break any bottles. He was seen constantly taking out the containers, melting them with medicine, and then using chemicals to mix them. The series of actions were dizzying for everyone watching. What do you want to do? The little fat man looked at it, suddenly feeling a little creepy. The potion for you has been prepared. If you can't make up your mind, I will do it for you. Jia Yan smiled and picked up the potion that took only 5 minutes to prepare and walked to the bed. Hey, brother, your joke is a bit big, don't do it. How do you know I'm big? Jia Yan said with a half smile on his face. I'm really big, I'm big for jokes, everything is big, why don't you just think it's not a joke and just drink it? As if feeding a big man, he grabbed him with the power that the little fat man couldn't resist, and then poured the colorful medicine in the test tube into his mouth. Oh, cough 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 cough. Hey, didn't this leak out? Don't waste it. Gurgling. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2935. The little fat man wanted to spit out the potion, but the magical thing was that the spit-out potion automatically suspended and returned to his mouth. After a long time of swallowing and struggling for a long time, the whole tube of potion still entered his mouth. Belch. The little fat man made a sad face and burped directly after finishing the drink. Jia Yan put him on the bed and looked at him with a smile. You will be arrested by the police on the ship, the police, you. The little fat man's face turned red even more, and he felt dizzy at its peak. The energy that he had been able to drink without pouring 4 glasses of wine just now doubled, and even reached the point where the world was spinning. Lie down, silly boy, you don't even know how to seize this huge opportunity. Jia Yan smiled and pointed at the little fat man. Miraculously, the little fat man felt relaxed for a while, and then fell down on the bed. Jia Yan smiled again, turned off the light, and walked out of the health room. Not long after, a teacher in a white coat entered the health room. Huh? Why is there someone on the bed? I remember closing the door just now. No. Maybe it wasn't closed. This kid is so drunk. Oh, just let him sleep well and don't vomit on me. The teacher looked at the fat man lying on the bed with disgust. However, before half an hour, when the health room teacher was about to check on the little fat man's physical condition, she looked shocked. Wasn't he a fat boy just now? Why did he become a handsome boy? The little fat man woke up not long after, and then touched his face under the gaze of the beautiful teacher who seemed to be smiling but not smiling. Holy shit! When he looked in the mirror again, he was dumbfounded. It turns out that I lost weight, my face shape also changed, and I became a beautiful boy. Of course, in order to prevent his father from recognizing him, Jia Yan did not help change his basic facial features. He could only say that he had changed a little bit, but these little things were enough to transform him into a handsome guy that everyone admired. Teacher. Where is that classmate? What classmate? I haven't seen any of your classmates. I didn't expect that you, a handsome boy, would come to the teacher to use genetic optimization potion. Come on, tell me your class and name. You will get injections at the teacher's place, but you have to report it. The beauty health room teacher asked with a slightly teasing smile. It's just that the same teacher said the same words, and the fat and handsome boy felt a completely different meaning than before. Even if the teacher doesn't deliberately seduce or anything, human nature is like this. When facing handsome boys and beautiful women, they will always subconsciously show their better side. She is no exception, and her words have a more seductive meaning. Is this the handsome guy? Okay, I'll report back later. I'll go find my classmate first. The little fat man ran out of the health room quickly, but when he looked for it again, he couldn't find it. In fact, Jia Yandu has already left this tourist ship used by students. Stepped onto a frigate behind. Like another recruit, he does boring work in the fleet and exchanges knowledge and insights with the recruits around him from time to time. Yes, Jia Yan originally came to these spacecrafts to inquire about the current status of the Earth and the Orion Arm. But after discovering that there was a cruise ship just now, I gave up asking directly and chose to play with the little fat man first. After all, the war is really serious, and the people on Earth will not be so stupid as to travel. They should all be soldiers, as if they are facing a powerful enemy. So the scene just now can be regarded as an interlude. In this battleship, he got most of the answers he wanted. The Earth is as it appears, safe, even said to be the presence of the old god. The war does not affect the Earth. There are not many Earth soldiers in the front line troops. Most of them go to the front line as symbolic beings because the Earth people are not good at fighting. This is known to everyone in the Orion Arm. Sun. But no one will ignore the contributions of the people on Earth because of this small shortcoming. In fact, the people on Earth have paid a lot if it weren't for the blood relationship between people on Earth and Jia Yan, or if it weren't for the people on Earth and the giant Mosquito clan, that is, the evolved beast clan, there are so many inexplicable relationships. Maybe if the Orion arm explodes, no one will come to take care of it. After all, weakness is the original sin. It can be said that the Orion arm is a family of evolved beasts, or it should be said that Jiayan is supported by a single tree. Therefore, isn't it appropriate for other Orion arm civilizations to show a little goodwill to the things that this patron god is protecting? In short, the people on Earth are very prosperous. I even heard that in the past few years, the people on Earth have vaguely increased their wealth by relying on the issuance of war-related debt. Well, Jia Yan always felt uncomfortable hearing this. What he wants is for the people of the Earth to be self-reliant, and he has previously formulated many restrictive laws that have a huge impact on the Earth's financial affairs. The purpose is to prevent the people of the Earth as a whole from gradually becoming like the superpower that the Earth once almost dominated the world, and finally turned itself into a financial country. The kind of financial country that only knows how to use its military advantages and foundation to play financial games to steal the world's wool. The people of the Earth seem to be moving forward in this direction at a rapid speed, and they do not have the military background of a superpower. They only rely on giant mosquitoes like themselves to support their confidence. If I go back and let people on Earth lose more than half of their financial cards, it doesn't matter whether someone's family will be ruined or their family will die because of this, but I must get rid of this sign. After Jia Yan thought for a while, he sent a message to a certain Earth communication channel. He knew that once this news was released, it would definitely be a huge earthquake, but that had nothing to do with him, so who could let them fail to do their best? Brother, you do know a lot. I don't even know where the Nakdo civilization is, but you actually know it so clearly. The recruit who chatted with Jia Yan quickly felt that there was something special about the young soldier next to him. He looked at the other person and felt that he looked familiar, but he couldn't pronounce his name, and he didn't have any urge to ask the other person's name. After all, we've been chatting for so long and haven't asked each other's name yet. Wouldn't it be rude to ask now? Haha, the Kadu civilization is located at the checkpoint in the west, and it is a big civilization. Brother, you must have been a soldier for a short time. If you have the opportunity in the future, you may go to the west to station for a period of time, and maybe you will like this civilization. Jia Yan smiled. Oh? So, brother, have you been there? The real person doesn't show his face. The recruit stood in awe. He thought that the young men around him who were doing the same job were recruits just like him. It turned out that he had been to the Orion arm border in the west, which meant that he was definitely not a new recruit, but maybe someone with meritorious deeds. I can't talk about it in real people, but, in my opinion, our Earthling army still needs to go out more. Lack of combat capability is no excuse. In terms of garrisoning in the future, we should at least help other civilizations more, right? That's okay. It will broaden your horizons and make communication with other civilizations in the Orion arm smoother. Jia Yan seemed to be chatting with the new recruit, but he was actually looking for inspiration. Whatever came to mind, he would input it into his communication brain. The Earth received one message after another from a certain existence. It was okay at first. Although they were earth-shattering events, since it was this person who said it, the people below would definitely follow it. However, one thing after another happened one after another, and the faces of the senior executives who accepted the notice gradually turned green. Is it possible that the communication channel of that adult has been hacked? Otherwise, why would there be so many messages suddenly? Doesn't he know that if he does this, the whole Earth will be in chaos? A senior executive had an extremely ugly expression, especially when he saw that one of the news was that his family's big cake was going to be affected. Hey, how is this channel set up, and how is that adult's communicator structured? Don't say you don't know. It can be said that in this world, except for himself, it is impossible for anyone to communicate through this communication channel. We sent the message, you don't need to humiliate yourself. I told you in the early years not to do that, but you insist on doing it, so you should just handle the backup plan obediently, so as not to save this lord from taking action against you personally, and everyone will be affected. I can't bear it. This. The senior executive, who had been stunned for a long time, finally nodded like a zombie and said with a sad face, well, we have known that such a day would come, but we have reached this point unknowingly, and we are seeking our own death, that's all. Give the order, I will surrender later. This senior executive changed from being high-spirited to being depressed in the blink of an eye. The other senior executives around them looked at each other with a hint of worry in their hearts. To them, that being seemed to be someone they could speak to, but they probably didn't really take them seriously. Earth, it seems like something is really going to happen again. While Jia Yan was chatting with the recruits, he thought about what to modify and sent out messages one by one. Others may worry about overcorrecting or causing a strong backlash, but for the people on Earth who have experienced the metal crisis and several alien attacks, no matter how chaotic it is, it will never be that messy, and Jia Yan himself, his strength is the final trump card and cornerstone. If there is a problem that cannot be solved even by his strength, then there is no need for the people on Earth to panic, because they are not qualified, let alone have the opportunity to worry. Okay, thank you for your opinion, brother. I'm still busy over there, so I'll leave first. Oh, okay, where is the person? By the way, what does the brother I just chatted with look like? The recruit said yes, but when he turned around, he found that his colleagues and comrades who were working enthusiastically beside him had disappeared in the blink of an eye. What's even more exaggerated is that he has even forgotten what his face looks like. Ahem, I won't have such a bad memory, will I? The recruit couldn't help scratching his head, smearing grease all over his head. It seems that this guy is still a bit stupid. Jia Yan followed the colorful clouds and turned into a meteor from the sky. When he arrived near the Earth-Moon space, he found that the area was already somewhat chaotic. People on Earth today have already understood most of the entire solar system. In other words, most planets have garrisons and even permanent settlements. The area between the Earth and the Moon, as the closest area to Earthlings after leaving their hometown, has naturally been heavily developed and has long been a place where spaceships and warships come and go. But today, this area is a bit chaotic. Many people were frightened, and there were even military personnel driving people away. Didn't I give the order to drive away the tourists? After Jia Yan was stunned, he pricked up his ears to hear the origin of the incident. Then he couldn't help but smile bitterly. It's not an order he gave personally, but it is not unrelated to the order he gave. Because he ordered to clean up a certain gambling house. This was a big gambling house that even the recruit heard the name of. It was related to a certain high-level executive of the Earth Alliance. Although this person's official position had not reached the extreme, because of the mutual protection between officials, those other, even if the top management were dissatisfied with him, they gradually turned a blind eye, causing his career to become more and more exaggerated, and he actually extended his hands to the tourism industry. It's not that we want to engage in tourism, but we are forced to engage in some gambling-related matters in the tourism industry. When Jia Yan finally said he wanted to ban them, even the tourism industry was affected by Chiu, and now the chaos is unfolding because of this. Forget it, how can we usher in a new life without chaos? Jia Yan sighed, no longer caring about the chaos, and went straight into the earth. He said he wanted reform, and this was not empty talk. Even if it cost a certain amount of previous prosperity, and even made some people on Earth dislike him, it didn't matter. The first thing was that he had to bring the Earth back to its rightful place. Direction. If he is such a senior domain lord, and he is about to break through the senior domain lord level, and the race he protects only knows how to eat, drink and have fun, I am afraid that other strong people who know about it will laugh him to death. Jia Yan. You can be weak. But you can't be unmotivated. This is Jia Yan's original intention. The important place of Jia family. Jia 11 sent a message from the front 2 days ago, saying that Dad's subordinates have shown up. He himself should be near the Orion arm. Maybe he will come back to take a look soon. That's good. There is a grandmother in the Jia family, who is also Jia Yan's mother. But in the eyes of outsiders, the one person in the Jia family who can really be called the real mistress of the Jia family these days is Satsumadan, Jia Yan's wife. Satsumakan has been running back and forth between the rebuilt mother civilization and the Earth. Thanks to the Orion Arm's recent acquisition of many advanced alien star technology, her travel speed has been greatly improved, and her torture has been reduced, so she travels more frequently. Recently, it was the day when Satsuma was on Earth, and the entire Jia family seemed to have a backbone, and everyone was beaming with joy. Even the young master Jiarong often took time out of his busy schedule to come over to see his mother. The two mother and son were chatting about Jia Yan. In fact, Satsuma-chan wanted to leave the Earth and return to her hometown a few days ago. She was also a great existence in her hometown. At least her identity as Jia Yan's wife and the vague rumors that Jia Yan was a giant mosquito made her forget it. She is not the strongest in her hometown, but she will definitely gain great power, not to mention that she is the strongest in her hometown now. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2936. So she also had a lot of things to do, but after hearing that the battle between the Orion Arm and the enemy to create the world ended 2 days ago, and that Jia Yan led his subordinates to a great victory, she vaguely felt that her husband might return to Earth, even if it's just that she has to wait carefully when the clone returns. Xiaorong, if your dad comes back, don't be angry with him anymore. Satsuma-kana thought about the problem and became much more humane. She looked like a gentle big sister next door. Yes, she is the eldest sister next door. Even if she already has grandchildren, her grandchildren can even get married, but her appearance has not changed at all from before. She looks like a super beauty in her 20s. How is it possible? I am my age and my child is already older. Why should I be angry with him? Next to the super beautiful woman is a very handsome young man, Jiarong, the son of Jia Yan. There had been many grudges with his father in the past, but looking back now, he seemed to have just smiled. Son, if you can do this, it will save me the trouble of having to go home with trepidation. Suddenly, beside them, a hearty voice sounded. The mother and son quickly followed the sound and saw a middle-aged man standing quietly in the room with a very ordinary face. It's Jia Yan. Husband, you are back. Satsuma-chan was a pleasant surprise. As for Jiarong, who had just made the lofty words, he was embarrassed for a moment under Jia Yan's half-smiling gaze, and then smiled, shook his head, and came forward. Dad, why did you come back without saying a word? Let us know, we can pick you up too. Sure enough, my son has grown older and matured. Jia Yan felt that this was probably the biggest gain from his return. He couldn't help laughing, and said, what to pick up? Your father and I are really afraid that it will develop into the kind of fleet greeting that we used to do before, and it would be very bad to use troops and people. That's what it should be, but you. Okay, let's not talk about this. I say that you, kid, have become smoother as you get older, but your character has become a bit boring. You. Well, Jiarong felt that his head was congested with blood, and he almost got into a fight with his father again. It was impossible to start a fight. He was afraid that his father would tear him apart directly. Stop bullying the children. Satsumako rolled his eyes at Jia Yan. The relationship between the couple has improved, which means that the petty quarrels between the couple have increased. At least Satsumakan will teach her husband a lesson. Jia Yan smiled bitterly, and then stopped teasing the child. He reached out and rubbed Jiarong's head, causing the young-looking child's hair to become messy. I'm sorry. Actually, Dad didn't mean to tease you. I just feel that time is ruthless. In the blink of an eye, you have really grown up. Jiarong was helpless. He wanted to say, now that he knows his son has grown up, can he stop rubbing his head like this? By the way, where is my daughter? Jia Yan came back to his senses. She stayed at my parents' house, saying it was more fun there, but she has been acting wild recently. Then don't let her go astray. Your mother's family is said to be quite interesting. Jia Yan quickly told him that he had already had a big problem with his children's education, and he didn't want his daughter to have any problems again this time. Probably not. I have told the people below to keep an eye on her. In addition, I will be going back in the next 2 days. I go back and forth frequently. It is not easy for her to become bad. That's good. Jia Yan nodded. Satsuma's hometown is the home of genetically modified monsters, the former gene empire, where the creatures exist to become stronger. The law cannot prohibit fighting and bellicosity. At most, it restricts unofficially sanctioned fighting to some extent, and therefore folk customs. The entire planet is not very peaceful, and there are quite a lot of messy stories everywhere. This means that for children with some ability, going to that planet is almost like going to the treasure planet. When I came back last time, my daughter Xiaoqiao was locked up in a high-walled compound because she was young. As a result, she didn't understand the fun of her grandma and grandpa's house. After Jia Yan taught her many fighting skills, she also improved her brain waves. After gaining strength, she returned with a cheerful and lively personality, which led to a drastic change in her whole character, and she became wild. It's so much fun at Grandpa and Grandma's place. What's the point of staying at home on Earth? For children a few years old, this is what they want to do. Satsuma-chan also seemed to have changed a little because of his daughter's affairs, so when he talked about his daughter's wild life in his hometown, he smiled and talked freely. Jia Yan listened quietly during the process, his eyes filled with tenderness. Satsuma Temple, I went to the Northern Territory, Lord, this time. You must have heard of it. It is said that the White Territory is a very developed place. I will find a way to extend my life or improve my strength there. Satsumakan's eyes immediately changed when he heard Jia Yan's completely different words. Husband, you really don't have to do this for me. It's not for you. Without you, my life will change. I'm afraid even a strong person's heart will change, so for my own sake, I have to help you. I will leave you one day. Let's talk about it when the time comes. Jiarong stood aside and was fed dog food by the couple. He picked up the phone and talked on the phone with his journalist wife, as if he was saying that he also had a wife. After hearing this, the two of them smiled in unison without revealing the child's thoughts. To put it bluntly, if an existence like Jiarong were placed elsewhere, he would not be so childish, but it was precisely because he was in front of his parents that he showed this side. No matter how old the children are, or what high position they achieve, they will always be children in the eyes of their parents, and these children are also willing to show their childish side in front of their parents. It can be said that even if Jia Yan cannot do other things when he comes back, he will definitely be satisfied. But what he wants to do is definitely more than that. For example, things in the general direction on Earth. After learning that Jia Yan had quietly returned to Earth, Jia Yan had just been at home, coexisting with his wife and children for a while. He didn't even have time to visit his parents or visit his sister's family. The higher UPS on Earth had already sent people. Master Jia Yan, the things you sent back, have caused a lot of reactions and caused a lot of waves. Now that you have returned, some things, we really can't handle. Please take a look at it yourself. An official stood in front of Jia Yan tremblingly and told him about the recent difficulties. Jia Yan asked calmly, are you corrupt or accepting bribes? Of course not. Then does your family do anything wrong because of your status? No. No. So were you involved in those events that I sent back? But, maybe not. Sir, the affairs you sent back are so extensive that no official in the world dares to say that he is not involved. Jia Yan sneered, don't you dare say it. There is no delay in this matter. I don't have much time to return from this trip. You should deal with it as I said. If some problems and some black sheep are here, if we don't handle this right at this critical moment, I'm afraid the entire race of the Earth Alliance will be destroyed in their hands. That official was probably a very honest person, and he must have understood the importance of Jia Yan's documents, but even he didn't expect that Jia Yan would say such serious things. In fact, it is not that no one on Earth, including officials and even the people, has thought about what Jia Yan thought about. The entire castle in the sky, built only under the protection of the evolved beast clan, is really crumbling. It is a lie to say that the evolved beast clan can rest easy under the protection of the evolved beast clan. Many people often publish similar warning sentences in many media and newspapers. But as time passes, fewer and fewer people take these warning sentences to heart. After all, countless people only care about immediate interests. Is it possible that evolved beast will not protect the Earth Alliance forever? It's impossible not to give up protection in this era, right? What happens in the future is what our children and grandchildren will have to face, so what does it have to do with them? Moreover, the people on Earth are now very well integrated in finance. Maybe even if the evolved beast clan gives up, the Earth Alliance will be able to thrive in the financial industry alone? But they never thought that engaging in finance also depends on strength. In short, Jia Yan is different from today's people on Earth who are greedy for pleasure. What he wants to do is to bring order to the chaos. No need to do this or that, just issue my orders honestly. Even if someone scolds me, I will bear it. After a few decades, similar scoldings may become praises. Human nature, I know. Jia Yan chuckled. The official had no choice but to retreat. With everything said like this, it must be impossible for Jia Yan to take back his life. Instead of letting Jia Yan take action himself, it would be better for them to come and ask this adult to move when they really need Jia Yan to show up or even take action. Wait, I'll let you go. If it's not convenient for my dad, I can go. Suddenly Jia Rong, who had been watching for a long time, stood up. After putting down the dishes and chopsticks, he has regained his demeanor as the person in charge of most affairs of the Jia family. Jia Yan said nothing and sighed. I am afraid that my son has gradually changed his focus from his initial efforts in cultivation to his career in politics. In fact, his initial cultivation was just to defeat his father. He does not like cultivation deep down. Finding something you like to do today is the best of both worlds. After watching his son leave, Jia Yan finished the rice in the bowl. Let's go and meet my parents. It's been a long time since I've been with my parents, and I don't know if I can still recognize them. Tisk tisk, I also said that I would meet you. This is your new clone. It seems a little more handsome. If I hadn't recognized your breath, I might not have known it was you. You're really not shy. What the hell, do I have it? Maybe, but it's been too long. How can I remember what I looked like in my previous life? Jia Yan ignored his wife's accusations with a guilty conscience and firmly believed that he was so handsome. Anyway, fortunately, the two elders still recognized Jia Yan. They welcomed their son back, and kept talking about their grandchildren. They also mentioned that their daughter Jia Lin hadn't visited them for a long time, which made the two parents a little bored. I heard that their father specifically requested the above to make arrangements for him. No one in the class knew his true identity. My mother dresses up as a grocery store and all day long, mingling with many of her peers on the street, but she doesn't know if there are security personnel from certain departments among these peers. I heard that my father Jia Sheng's company gave my family tickets for a space trip for a month. The two parents were so happy that they thought about it all day long. In this way, the two elders can have the joy of life. At the same time, Jia Yan saw from this incident that he could not do things one size fits all. So an hour later, he turned on the communicator again. Yes, yes, you take back part of the order? Isn't entertainment dead? On the other end of the phone, I was a little surprised after receiving Jia Yan's message. Jia Yan put down the phone again and breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't even know if the unbinding order he issued was the culprit that would cause the people of Earth to fall into stagnation again in the future. But all he has to do is to achieve a balance as much as possible. Husband, after you have done this, are you leaving again? Satsuma Kono came behind Jia Yan, and looked at Jia Yan worriedly. Yes, I have to leave again. Didn't I tell you that my real body is now in the Northern Territory, and I will soon make a name for myself in the Northern Territory. From now on, when we in the Orion Arm go to the Northern Territory, we only need to report just my name will do. That's good, but you have to pay attention to your health and try to do as little dangerous things as possible. A large family like Orion Arm is looking forward to your safety. Jia Yan couldn't help laughing. It seems that my wife does know about the Northern Territory and has only a partial understanding of the strength of the Northern Territory. This is probably the source of her worries. However, she knew only a little about the Northern Territory, and she knew nothing about herself. Don't worry, with your husband's strength now, not to mention the danger in the Northern Territory, even if all the top masters in the Northern Territory, well, half of the masters come, I can escape. He originally wanted to talk wildly, but he thought that there were many senior domain lords in the Northern Territory. It was easy to talk in vain. If one word turned out to be a prophecy, it would be quite dangerous, so he took back half of his big words. Only you can blow it? Satsuma was dumbfounded. I didn't expect that my husband, a strong man, was quite good at bragging. But this also means that the relationship between husband and wife has improved. Otherwise, more than 10 years ago, even if Jia Yan accepted her, it would be difficult for him to tell such a little joke that only couples would make. It proved that she made the right decision by trying every possible means to give birth to her daughter Jia Makiao last time. The two of them were cuddling on the sofa. In fact, something was surging in Jia Yan's heart. After he returned to Earth, he saw the excessive financialism and entertainmentism on Earth. He subconsciously wanted to ask everyone to join his vision and start a nationwide effort to make the Earth Collective become a strong and powerful person in the shortest possible time. Race. But this kind of thing cannot be accomplished overnight. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2937. You have restricted the entertainment industry, and you have single-handedly imposed a large number of restrictions. People on Earth are living a variety of unfree lives, and it is possible for them to make rapid progress in a short period of time. But this progress, without the nourishment of propellant, is very easy to get out of control. Either the society is deformed and eventually the whole thing collapses. Otherwise, everyone will give up their efforts and become flat. What's even more terrifying is that Jia Yan's anger against him may reach its peak, and eventually Jia Yan will not know whether he should continue to help the Earth Alliance. That would be the most uncomfortable result. That's right. Some things have to be allowed to take their own course. However, I still have to continue with my corrective methods, otherwise I won't be satisfied. Let's expand on the lowest level. The twisted melon is not sweet. Jia Yan deeply understands this truth. But if a melon is not straightened, it will fall into the abyss. That can only turn him around as much as possible. Even if it hurts a little bit of the foundation, it can only be like this, otherwise it will lead to a more miserable end. But you have to boil the frog in warm water. For example, if you like entertainment, then use entertainment methods. No wonder, there are so many competitions among alien civilizations. I remember when I was weak at the beginning, I stepped onto the stage of being strong through various competitions. Jia Yan suddenly understood. It is not that other civilizations or forces force the race to develop towards a strong civilization, but that they guide it well. After the concept of the strong being supreme is implanted in the minds of the people, it will become the consensus of the whole people. Jia Yan has many enlightenments and consciousnesses in his heart, and he is also preparing to modify these enlightenments and even things copied from other civilizations and move them to the Earth civilization. Otherwise, it is absolutely impossible for Earth civilization to continue like this for long. Many affairs on the Earth side gradually got on the right track after Jia Yan went around and contacted various departments. On the other side, Jia Yan's true body also approached the starry sky that he was about to travel. This is a starry sky force that only belongs to the strong. Even within the prosperous star field of the Northern Territory, he is still a part of the top forces. Not only because there is a senior domain lord in this force. What's more, because within this force is advocated, and everyone who comes and goes is a strong person, there are as many as a dozen territory lords who are often in charge. This has also resulted in an overwhelming number of competition styles, competition stages, and events in this star field. Wake up, brother and master. We are here. Aditya's voice awakened Jia Yan, who was immersed in the Earth's clone, from silence. When he received the information about this star field from Aditya, he was still a little dazed. A martial starry sky region? Does this mean someone is giving you a pillow if you are sleeping? He was just worried that he didn't have a template for creating a martial culture on Earth. Unexpectedly, one came directly. In fact, it is not that coincidental, because there are many similar civilizations in the galaxy. Aditya, help me search for the whereabouts of the domain master who carried the body of the white dolphin, and at the same time, collect the operation methods of this star power. Okay. Jia Yan's desire to bring the Earth back on track was not just a whim. The initial development of the Earth civilization was on thin ice. Since he had made mistakes before, it was up to him to bring back the skewed rhythm of civilization. And if the civilization template in front of you happens to be very similar to the future of the Earth you want, then that's it. Aditya began to run around, collecting a large amount of information about this civilization, and crawling around on the internet, carefully checking whether there was any information about the domain lord who had stolen the white dolphin's body. However, the domain owner would not leak the information easily after committing the theft, so after Jia Yan waited for a long time, Aditya's response was still fruitless. Let me go investigate. Jia Yan had no choice but to send the clone himself. After the battle of creating the world, his ability to control clones has already improved by leaps and bounds, so it can be said that it is quite easy to release more than 10 clones to investigate the surroundings. Just in time, he felt that he could take advantage of this opportunity to see how the forces in this star field operated. My friend, you are insulting me by saying this. On the street, a half-kilometer-long monster spoke politely to another monster. A clone of Jia Yan happened to enter this area quietly from the subspace, and soon turned into a passerby with interest, standing not far away listening to the conversation between the two. Looking at his surroundings, he was amazed. Because this environment is actually like a city, but the city is not built inside the planet, but around it. To put it bluntly, the scale of this kind of building is unbelievably huge. They completely surround an Earth-like planet in the center, and are surrounded by major satellite cities and countries. The buildings inside are either made of asteroids or made of asteroids. It is enclosed by a black screen. For example, the clone controlled by Jia Yan now appears in a city-like landscape. The ground beneath his feet is solid, but very thin. Some of the surrounding buildings are solid and some are virtual. Of course, it is not that easy to build a building that can accommodate 1, 2, or even 10 kilometers of monsters walking on the streets. Just this is enough to see the prosperity and advancement of this starry sky. Young master, you said I insulted the gentleman? Haha, the word gentle is really unpalatable to strong men like us. If the young master is also a member of the martial arts world, why not go to the ring and fight? The monster, who was told that it was insulting to politeness, replied with a refined old saying. What Jia Yan heard was even more strange. Both sides are obviously alien monsters, but they talk like ancient Chinese people on Earth. Of course, they speak the common language of the galaxy. Jia Yan said that they are like the ancients. It is because their subtexts and sentences are like the ancients, not because the words they speak are Chinese. Valley. Humph, brother wants to fight with me so much, so I just have to accompany you. The elegant monster and the monster on the other side rushed towards the street arena not far away with great energy. Jia Yan was very curious and quickly followed. He just wanted to see how this interstellar force operated the competition facilities and supervised the competition projects. Jia Yan had personally participated in many similar projects in the past, but at that time he never imagined that one day he would want to learn from these experiences, so he did not know much about them. Nowadays, if you want to study systematically, you have to have a deep understanding of all aspects. Boom! In the ring, the two monsters were fighting fiercely. The moves are sharp and methodical. I'm afraid these moves are all inherited. It's amazing. The culture of fighting and strong men has been integrated into the civilization itself. No wonder two mere venerables are so strong. This is still the venerable level, which is less than the venerable intermediate level. The burst of strength is like having the venerable intermediate level. No wonder he is a strong man in the Northern Territory, half a level higher than the strong ones outside, which is considered to be in line with the positioning of a powerful star field. After fighting, one party's moves failed to check and he fell out of the ring. I accepted the winner was the elegant and strong man. Wait a minute, brother, I just saw you doing light and ruthless moves in the ring. You must be from a famous family, right? The well-mannered strong man who stepped down was intercepted by another strong man who appeared suddenly and was probably at the venerable level. He was startled, and when he looked around, he saw that the person who intercepted him should be some casual cultivator, with a monkey-like monster appearance, but without any sect logo, and he was still naked from head to toe. He was not laughing at this. People exposed parts that shouldn't be exposed, but didn't even have protective equipment. They were either poor, or they came from wild places outside the Northern Territory. Yes, the civilized forces in the Northern Territory refer to the starry sky outside as barbaric. Probably only the extremely distant central star field of the Milky Way galaxy will be looked up to by them, but the journey is far away. How many powerful people have been to the central star field of the Milky Way galaxy, or come to the central star field of the Milky Way galaxy? There is almost no communication between the two parties. Therefore, the strong men in the Northern Territory have a somewhat arrogant attitude towards the strong men outside. But arrogance is arrogance, and for this literary monster, he can do superficial things. Brother, you are joking. There are many talented people in my northern region, and my clan is not a famous one. I wonder why you are looking for me. The talking creature has a monkey-like appearance and is about the same size as this elegant and powerful man. The strength should be about the same. Of course he is Jia Yan. Haha, what my friend said, I don't have any hostility or malice. I am just happy to see you. I just feel that you should be a person worth making friends with. I just want to treat you to a drink. If you don't believe me, then let it go. After Jia Yan finished speaking, a look of disappointment flashed across the monkey's head and he was about to leave. However, the well-educated man behind him stopped him and said with a smile, "It's okay to make friends, not to mention that I have nothing to worry about with my friends. If you are willing to treat me, You are welcome. It's easy to say. In that case, if you name a restaurant, I'll take it. Jia Yan smiled happily. The two parties quickly became brothers and came to a place that seemed to be a father's restaurant. Jia Yan actually asked the other party to choose a restaurant, saying that he was not familiar with the starry sky. In fact, he was not only unfamiliar with the starry sky, he was not even familiar with this style of cosmic civilization. I just didn't expect that such a huge and powerful creature would have a place for them to drink and chat. It was simply the most amazing thing in the world. However, the restaurant is obviously not made physically. Instead, it is a combination of shady materials and technological creations, which are constructed into something similar to a physical entity. It floats in space and becomes a scenic spot in the street city. Here comes the wine, friend. Since you are so forthright, I offer you a toast. Jia Yan's monkey body laughed happily, mentioning the Xiao monster who looked a bit old-fashioned, and drank the good wine sent to him in one gulp. Brother, you are so quick to talk, and I respect you too. The elegant and strong man seemed to be very excited and seemed to be quite interested in making friends. I don't know where brother comes from. What are you going to do in this land of rivers and lakes? The elegant monster has a head like a fish's head, but its body looks like a four-legged animal. Jia Yan chuckled, I come from other places in the Northern Territory. I have long heard that there are rivers and lakes here, and there are many capable people, and there are also heroes who are so heroic that they can reach the sky, so I came here to see it. I was quite disappointed at first. I didn't expect to see you, my friend, competing in the ring, and then I realized that there really is a real hero here. Do it. Jia Yan held up the opponent's smelly feet, then raised the so-called wine and drank it in a big gulp. This wine is said to be wine, but in fact it should be a substance collected through chemical reactions using the ultraviolet rays emitted by stars, and then through the reaction of substances on certain gaseous planets, it finally condenses into a substance that can cause even the strongest to feel dizzy and a little drunk. Object. The weak will definitely die if they drink it. But for strong people, such a substance is just as effective as wine, and it is even difficult to sober up. Many strong people drink and cause trouble, which has become a unique sight in this land of stars. Sure enough, there are all kinds of places. Anyway, Jia Yan's clone has nothing to do. He just happens to be here to collect information, and there will be no loss in dealing with this first-level powerful person. Brother, you are joking. How can I be a hero? When it comes to heroes, the most deserving ones should be those first-class young talents in the world. A top-notch young talent, Jia Yan paused and asked. No, brother, you should know that there are many lists in our Jianghu star territory, but in terms of gold content, those are just a few. One of them is the list of young talents. It is the talent list. Every year there are countless young talents who want to be on the list but can't, which shows how valuable this list is. Oh, my friend, with your level, can't you make it to the list? The list will not really be judged by strength, right? Then everyone just needs to show their own cultivation level. I'm afraid it will be difficult to convince the crowd. Jia Yan deliberately pretended to be ignorant. In fact, he didn't know these list patterns, and his ears were numb. After all, he had been to too many places. Even if he had no contact with such lists in the later period, even in the central star field of the Milky Way, it was still there are definitely things like young talent lists everywhere. To put it bluntly, they are all tools to cultivate healthy competition among the younger generations, so that the entire cultivation world can continuously inject fresh blood. This is a good plan. Aditya should remember it carefully so that the earth can imitate it. Jia Yan thought secretly in his heart. Me? Brother, you think too highly of me. What virtues and abilities do I have to be on the list of young talents? However, brother is aware of everything and immediately knows the biggest advantage of the list. The fish-headed monster was stunned, and said with a self-deprecating smile, "Actually, each level of the young talent list has its own list mode, especially in the initial level of the big level, and the peak list, which attracts the most attention. Competition is fierce, and in today's world of martial arts cultivation that has developed for 100,000 years, the young talent list and the peak list have become major events that everyone in major regions is vying to host. There are hidden dragons and crouching tigers in them. A traveling venerable entry-level being like me might not even be able to pass the first level of the preliminaries if we participate in the competition. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2938. It's so amazing. There must be geniuses on this list. Genius is natural. In addition, young talents who are qualified to compete will generally have the support of various forces and families, provide a large amount of resources, and ask famous teachers for guidance. Therefore, their ability to come to power is not only their talent, but more importantly, their years of hard work. After hard training, I finally became a blockbuster in the ring. 1 minute on stage and 10 years of work off stage. Well, that's really it, but it must be more than 10 years. Many young talents need decades, or even hundreds of years, to show such a moment of brilliance. I see. It seems that this is not your ambition, my friend. Otherwise, if you had used the time you spent traveling to practice, you might have been on the list. No, no. But, if I work hard, it might be possible. Alas, it's just that I made the wrong choice. Haha, drink, my friend is so talented, how can I not drink more than 2 drinks? Jia Yan's avatar drank wine with this elegant fish-headed monster, gradually getting closer and asking for some news. He claimed that his intelligence was average, but when he really put it to use, ordinary beings really couldn't resist. It didn't take long for the literate monster who was chatting with him to tell everyone about his family background. I just didn't mention the fact that I wet the bed when I was a child. Jia Yan chewed the words. Well done, I didn't expect that at my brother's level of strength, he would dare to break into the enemy camp alone. No. I was the #1 young master of the Wan family among our forces back then, ha ha ha. As he said this elegant fish-headed monster with such arrogance soared into the sky, but his face turned ugly. It's a pity that on the day I stepped into the heaven level, a junior at the top of the earth level came. He only used 1 move to kill me. Defeated, the look on his face when he saw me, alas, brother, I was actually talking nonsense just now. That earth-level genius was a real genius. But after that, he participated in the battle of earth-level geniuses, but he was also defeated with 1 move. Died in the arena. Ever since I learned about this, I have given up the idea of competing with geniuses, ha ha ha. As he spoke, tears rolled out of the fish's eyes. Yes, this little guy was frightened. Jia Yan asked about the requirements and basic standards of such a genius, and then he curled his lips in disdain. Among the geniuses at the venerable level, many are 100 years old. Those who are less than 100 years old are considered super geniuses. Those who are over 100 years old and less than 200 years old are already equivalent to the mainstay among geniuses. A stellar centenarian genius? There is no such thing as a 100-year-old star in their world of martial arts. They must be at least 200 or 300 years old. Then what does he mean by being a 100-year-old senior domain lord? That's it? Genius. What? Boring. Jia Yan came and despised the 4th company. Even if he knows that it is unfair to others to use himself as an example, but this northern territory is known as a model existence in this large star field, it must at least be like the central star field point of the Milky Way, right? In the central star field of the Milky Way, there are many hundred-year-old stars. As for the Northern Territory, although it cannot be said that Jianghu forces can represent the entire Northern Territory, as a top force, it must also belong to a relatively high-level place. But I have never even heard of a star level within 100 years, which means that the Northern Territory is more than a little behind the Milky Way Central Star Territory. By the way, friend, I heard that there is a supermaster in this Jianghu area. I wonder if you know what the supermaster is like. The fish-headed monster was so drunk that his tongue was almost tied. Forgetting his refined appearance, he glanced at Jia Yan with fish eyes and said, "Could it be that brother is also here because of his fame, hoping to get the inheritance from the martial arts master?" Inherited? Wuzun? Jia Yan paused for a moment, and then continued naturally and fluently, "Yes, I came here because of the reputation. It is said that in this land of rivers and lakes and starry sky, Wuzun is very powerful and rules the entire starry sky in an orderly manner. Firstly, I came here to see the heroes of the world, and secondly, I came to admire the grace of the martial master." "Haha, brother, to pay homage to Wuzun, you are thinking too much about it. With Wuzun's status, how can we and other mere venerable people be able to pay homage to Wuzun? But if you pay homage to Wuzun, if you are interested in the inheritance, it is not impossible. Just participate in the youth talent competition. If you are over 100 years old, you can also go to the ordinary competition arena. If you have good results, you will naturally get martial lord, inherited." "Oh? If I get a good ranking, will I be able to see Wuzun himself?" This is not impossible. It is rumored that Wuzun will meet with top experts of the same level, but this is only occasionally the case." Jia Yan nodded thoughtfully. The first thing he made sure of was that he came to the Jianghu Star Territory not to cause trouble. Then you must first determine whether what you want is wandering in the Jianghu Star Territory. Those who live in the Jianghu Star Territory are most likely to be taken away by the so-called martial lord, because the body of the white dolphin is, to put it bluntly, difficult to use even for ordinary domain lords. Only the senior domain lord level will have great benefits. Of course, this kind of benefit is more than 100 times weaker than Jia Yan's devouring effect. For other senior domain owners, it is better than nothing. But for him, it is a necessity. Now Jia Yan is stuck between the senior domain master and the next level, which is quite uncomfortable. So he is bound to win this. If I come to contact you directly as a senior domain lord, it will definitely cause a big turmoil. Maybe the so-called martial lord will be alert and get rid of the white dolphin body. Even if I really kill him, I will still find him. Don't give back what you want. It's better to use the fastest method to meet the martial lord, be affectionate and reasonable towards him, and also be able to lock his position. Even if the negotiation fails, the real body can use the power of thunder to attack him. Before destroying the body of the white dolphin, stop him from destroying the body of the white dolphin." Jia Yan's eyes flickered, and he thought of a good plan. "Brother, since you are so interested in the arena, you might as well sign up directly. I remember that there will be a general election held in the city in half a day." "Okay then, I'll sign up." Jia Yan stood up. The fish-headed monster stood up politely and patted its equipment. It seemed quite elegant. Following Jia Yan, it seemed that he was ready to go to the end and send Buddha to the west. Jia Yan smiled and did not refuse his company. Maybe in the eyes of the other party, he was just accompanying a friend from outside to go to the so-called arena for a formality. It's like an outsider who has confidence in himself and then enters the ring, but fails to persist in a single match, but it happens every day in Jianghu Starfield. "This little brother, are you here to sign up for this arena?" The so-called arena is on the planet in this starry sky and occupies a huge area. From this point of view, We can also guess how much importance the entire Jianghu Star territory places on this kind of arena. Valley. Only in this way can good talents be cultivated. Jia Yan silently remembered it in his mind, and then filled in his registration information in the outer channel of the arena registration office. Outsiders. When the staff at the registration office saw Jia Yan's information, they suddenly lost interest. As people who work in the ring office, they also have their own likes and dislikes, and they are more enthusiastic about certain newcomers with potential, because who doesn't want a cool and awesome character to come out of the registration point they are responsible for? Maybe it can also help their promotion. But outsiders. They've seen a lot. Many outsiders come with awe-inspiring and extremely conceited views. But how conceited he was when he came, and how dejected he was after being defeated. After seeing more, they become less and less interested in outsiders, because the results are often doomed. This is also the reason why Jianghu Star territory is the kind of place that everyone yearns for around this starry sky and is in awe when hearing the name. After all, if the people around them look down on Jianghu Star territory, they don't have to have anything to do with the people of Jianghu Star territory. Conflict. Come directly to participate in the arena competition of Jianghu Star territory, play 1 or 2 games, you will be taught how to be a human being, and you will never dare to look down on Jianghu Star territory again. I see. In addition to selecting talents and improving the overall level of the star field, this type of competition in an arena can also threaten the surrounding areas without bloodshed. Such a plan kills 2 birds with 1 stone or even 3 birds with 1 stone. After Jia Yan filled out the form and pondered for a moment, he was even more impressed. Brother, look, the man on the stage is one of the top 10 venerable masters around this planet city. His racial talent is his sword-like feet. Look, how amazing these feet are. Jia Yan was so bored watching the competition between his predecessors that he almost yawned. However, the elegant fish-headed monster next to him was very interested, and from time to time he would whisper to Jia Yan to explain the famous people in the ring. But when he found Jia Yan at the registration point and received the list of candidates for the competition later, his whole mood changed. Friend, why am I so worried after seeing my opponent's name? Is there any problem? Jia Yan asked. Hey, brother, to tell you the truth, you are not very lucky. Your opponent is actually the 5th best player in this starry sky city. It is difficult to deal with him. The fish monster looked at Jia Yan as if he couldn't bear it. This person is quite powerful. Although he does not have a strong racial talent, his chain of 18 legs can be said to have swept away all the strong men around him. Even the first master-level strong man took more than 20 moves. Only then did he defeat it. Oh well. Jia Yan's indifferent attitude made the fish monster creature unhappy. He wanted to say something more, such as asking Jia Yan to pay more attention to his opponent, but when the words came to his lips, he remembered that they had just met by chance, and neither of them knew the other's name, so he stopped talking. It is a taboo to talk superficially and deeply, even in the world of strong people. They watched the whole morning and noontime. They had already eaten anyway, and for the strong, skipping several meals was nothing. The next match will be between assassins and 18 legs. Please take your positions. As soon as the afternoon started, Jia Yan's name was called. Assassin? Is this my brother's name? Brother, listen to my advice. If you find that you can't beat him, it's better to give up and leave the ring. Although there have been fewer casualties in recent times, it is still not uncommon. The 18 legs are also injured. You have defeated several opponents. If you don't want to get hurt, you need to admit defeat in time, do you understand? Haha, I know. Thanks for your concern, my friend. Jia Yan entered the ring with a smile. Looking at his calm appearance, the fish-headed monster's face was moved, and he vaguely thought of some possibility. But it shouldn't be possible. The opponent entered the ring, and he was indeed a master of the first level of the venerable who should not be underestimated. Jia Yan believes that even if this guy goes to the central star field of the Milky Way, he is probably just borrowing the basic level of an unknown ordinary sage. But he will definitely not be able to climb to the top echelon of the venerable primary level. After all, in the central star field of the Milky Way, the geniuses there are the ones who truly stand at the top of the entire galaxy. They are not existences that can be compared to the top 5 in a competition in the North Territory. Please. Neither party spoke, and there was no hostility or anything like that. After all, the opponent is in 5th place. This time he enters the ring to maintain his ranking and play in routine events every once in a while. For him, there is no need to spend energy to understand the opponent, and there is no need to say hello or anything. The opponent can be eliminated in just a few moves. Unexpectedly, after the referee made the call to start the fight, Jia Yan moved quickly and came to the strong man who was famous for his leg moves. He waved his monkey fist and punched 3 times. Boom! The half-kilometer-long venerable junior master fell to the ground inexplicably. Until he lost consciousness and fell to the ground, the long-legged fighting tool that he was famous for was only halfway picked up, and it was too late to launch the first offensive move. Seeing the opponent falling to the ground unconscious in the dust on the ring, the referee was slightly distracted. Then he looked deeply at the monkey monster looking at him. The assassin wins by knockout. Suddenly, there were sounds of surprise around the entire arena. You know, this is an open competition, and there are many nosy guests or loyal fans of 18 Legs gathered around. However, no one expected that the famous 18 Legs around this planet city would actually lose to an unknown guy. Outsiders. It turns out to be an outsider, so it's not surprising. Although 99% of the outsiders come here to seek abuse, there are still some who are really piss poor, and it seems that this so-called assassin is one of them. But even so, is it too much? Those are 18 legs. Did you see that? At the end, Shiba Legs couldn't even lift his legs completely, which means that this person is so fast that Shiba Legs can't even make a move. It's absolutely terrifying. Jia Yan walked down to the ring with a smile, and as if the clouds were clear and the wind was clear, he came to the fish-headed monster who had been waiting for him for less than a minute. Fortunately, I did not disgrace myself. This so-called 5th place doesn't look very good either. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2939. After Jia Yan made the above call, he seemed like a fish-headed monster who had been down for a long time and finally recovered from his loss. Ahem, brother, you are joking. The ability of these 18 legs has been proven by time. His strength is obvious to all. Brother can knock him down in an instant. I am afraid, it is far beyond the character I imagined has offended many people before, so please forgive me. Jia Yan understood that the forgiveness he was talking about was because he had made a lot of boastful remarks in front of Jia Yan under the influence of alcohol. This is like a certain civil scientist who was dissolute while drinking. He showed off to his friends that he knew all the scientific principles and talked nonsense. After bragging, he realized that his friend sitting at the table was a serious scientist. That kind of feeling is difficult for people who are not in the civil sciences to understand. Anyway, in front of the boss, I pretended to be a boss for a while and was slapped in the face until it hurt. It doesn't have to be like this. Anyway, what my friend said to me really broadened my horizons. I'm quite grateful to you. Seeing that Jia Yan didn't blame himself, the fish-headed monster thought in his heart, the boss is indeed the boss, and his measures are not at the same level as those of me and other insignificant people. If Jia Yan knew what he was thinking, he would probably sneer at him. Measuring this kind of thing is just that I will be generous if you cannot have a huge impact on me. If it does have an impact, I think no matter how generous the boss is, he will pursue it to the end. This player, your next competition is scheduled for tomorrow. I wonder if you are free. A staff member came forward. Jia Yan looked up, and a slight smile appeared on the monkey's face. No need for tomorrow, as long as there are opponents who meet my requirements, today will be enough. I need to meet your promotion requirements as soon as possible. Is that so? The staff member wanted to refuse, but after his eyes met Jia Yan's unwavering monkey eyes, he couldn't say anything for some reason. I'll try my best to arrange it. There are no examples of outsiders like you rushing for time before. The identity of a foreigner concealed Jia Yan's behavior very well. After all, among outsiders, those who are truly capable do not have enough time. They are willing to participate in so-called competitions more out of curiosity or boredom to pass the time. In such an existence, it is normal to want to be in a hurry. Preparatory work is usually carried out, so after Jia Yan said that he was in a hurry, it didn't take long for the arena to announce the upcoming urgent adjustments to the competition content. 3 games in a row. Jia Yan needs to start from 3rd place and challenge to the 1st place in this planet city. After all, it can be seen from his 5th place that even the 1st place is difficult to be his opponent. Only 3 games in a row may cause a slight surprise. This is also the cost of outsiders trying to rush for time. If they lose in a will battle, they have nothing to say. After all, it is their own big words. What? Foreign genius. This guy is not some self-promoting genius, but the one who just defeated the 5th place 18 legs with just one move. Hey, he fought 3 games in a row, now he is in for a good show. Normally, these competitions are popular among the common people in the entire Jianghu Star territory, so a change occurred that immediately attracted a lot of attention. Not to mention that there will be no audience due to time constraints. On the contrary, the more urgently released competition content is, the more eye-catching it is. How many people come from all directions? By afternoon, the seats were already packed. As we all know, this afternoon is an emergency competition. The opponent is an outsider assassin. It is a competition with the top 3 strongest seats in the local star city. The host gave a concise introduction with touching words, and then announced the start of the 1st game. Be careful, brother, the strength of the top 3 and the 5th are completely different. The literary fish-headed monster who was regarded as Jia Yan's assistant by default seemed to have really stepped into his role and gave many key instructions to Jia Yan. He is still drunk. If I wake up, I'm afraid I will be surprised. I don't even know the real name of the so-called assassin in front of me, but he has done so much for him. Of course, this also shows that Jia Yan made a good impression on him. Otherwise, no matter how drunk he is, the strong instinct will make him stay away from danger. Hey, a female creature. After entering the field, Jia Yan saw that his opponent, the 3rd existence, was a female, which was rare. Humph, don't look down on me just because of my gender, the female snorted coldly. Okay, Jia Yan nodded. The opponent held her breath and concentrated, then used her most advantageous speed. I guessed it a long time ago. Jia Yan smiled. He didn't even use his strong senses to cheat. When he saw that the other party was a female, he roughly guessed that she was a speed-type strong person. To be honest, Jia Yan is a little sympathetic to the positioning of females in the world of strong men, because they are not as good as males in terms of physical fitness. Therefore, the direction of cultivation is speed, mental power, illusion, and even beauty. Colors. So Jia Yan could easily guess her general attack method. After 2 bangs, Jia Yan raised his big monkey-like hand to meet the opponent's attack, and then swept the female creature to the ground with a sweep of his monkey legs. I give up. The female creature was so ashamed and angry that she admitted defeat. She didn't even know what Jia Yan's attack pattern was, nor could she force out any powerful moves before she was forced to admit defeat. This shows that the gap between the 2 sides is endless. You're already great, Jia Yan flattered the other person with a smile, which only elicited a cold snort. Seeing her exiting the field and the first and second place players looking at him with stern expressions on the sidelines, Jia Yan smiled sarcastically. If it were a normal novel plot, I'm afraid it would have entered into a plot where they avenged the female, kept themselves in trouble, and finally attracted this female creature and started a harem, right? Unfortunately, I am not in the same country as them. I am the second-ranked venerable beginner in this planet city. Please give me your advice. Bang. When the second player came on the stage, showing off his power and preparing to avenge the third female, Jia Yan took care of him without using many tricks. Still so relaxed and freehand. The whole place was boiling. They knew that this outsider's ability was of a real level. The last top-ranked player entered the field while holding his breath and concentrating. He looked at Jia Yan bitterly, and finally shook his head and said, "Brother, your strength is probably far superior to mine, but you don't underestimate me, the young people of the Jianghu Star territory, we are just geniuses in one city. Within the entire Jianghu Star territory, at the same level, those who are far more powerful than us are like crucian carp crossing the river. There will always be those who cannot compare with you. Then let me try it when I have time. At least you guys have disappointed me." Jia Yan deliberately pretended to be arrogant, causing the other party to become angry and violently attack. Valley. It was right to strike first, but he picked the wrong opponent. Without any distractions, Jia Yan raised his hands to resist his moves, then lightly exchanged two moves with him, and finally kicked him off the stage with a symbolic kick. "Victor, assassin." The audience burst into cheers, but there were also a lot of unconvinced boos. The Rivers and Lakes Star territory is a place that places great emphasis on geography. Especially after regional genius competitions, armed fights and even power wars often break out in support of their respective geniuses. Jia Yan destroyed the city's genius self-confidence in this way, so that the audience in this planet city would be willing to cheer for him. But they still understood the rules. Although they were unhappy, no one bothered Jia Yan and the other two. "My friend assassin, there is an unwritten rule in my Jianghu Star territory, that is, if you want to quickly advance to a higher level of competition, you can continue to challenge higher level competitions in the city and perform well. If so, we will go directly to the same level arena in Star territory." The host came to the door after the game. "Oh." Jia Yan looked at him with a half-smile. In fact, Jia Yan had heard these things from the fish-headed monster before. He also guessed that if he performed well, the host will come to invite you. The general idea is very simple, that is, if Jia Yan wants to quickly enter the top venerable preliminary arena in Jianghu Star territory, he can challenge in the city's venerable intermediate arena. He does not need to continue to win, but he must show once your abilities reach a certain level, you will be favored by Starfield competitions. "Okay, then when will the game start?" The host stared deeply at the outsider and said calmly, "If you are pressed for time, I can arrange a few opponents for you this afternoon. As long as you are good enough, you can fight against the top middle-level venerables tomorrow morning. If you are strong, if you are selected by the competition, I will send you to the central competition venue in the afternoon. Is this efficiency enough? So fast?" Jia Yan was a little surprised. The efficiency of Jianghu Starfield was indeed beyond words. "Then immediately help me prepare the Venerable's mid-level opponent." The surrounding audience had already started to disperse, but there were also some people who were sitting boldly. "Dear friends, don't leave in a hurry, because the participating assassins are ready to continue challenging the venerable mid-level players, so the afternoon competition will continue." The host said something, and the audience who wanted to leave the venue were shocked and confused. Some people were furious. Preparing to cross the level challenge? Doesn't he take the people of my planet city seriously? Humph, I don't know how high the sky is, so let me see what this outsider is capable of. Interesting, really interesting. I don't know where his confidence comes from, but I think he still has some hope. What hope? Challenging the top 10 in the intermediate level of the Venerable? I'm in doubt. I think he has a chance to challenge the top 3 Venerables in our city. Don't believe it? This guy must have reasons to be confident. Just wait and see. One stone stirs up 1,000 waves. If Jia Yan only provoked the first level sages in the city, he might not be able to arouse the same hatred in the whole city, but if he wants to use the strength of the first level sages to challenge the middle level sages, the nature will change. This is tantamount to declaring that he looks down on the geniuses of this planet city. It is also a disguised way of saying that he looks down on the people of the entire planet city. The angry man almost couldn't hold it back and jumped down from the stands to beat someone. You must know that the audience present is not only those below the venerable level, but also many who are above the venerable level, and even those who have reached the stellar level. Fortunately, these people have the consciousness of being strong, otherwise it would lead to a bigger incident, such as the whole city being beaten up by a strong person. Brother, are you sure about this? The fish-headed creature was stunned after Jia Yan announced his choice to the host. Yes, I'm sure. Even if it doesn't work, it's still a good idea to try. Jia Yan's calm response soon made the fish-headed monster feel turbulent. In his heart, he had elevated the strength and status of this random passerby countless times, but he was still shocked at this moment. After all, there is a difference between the primary level of the Venerable and the intermediate level of the Venerable. It may seem like a small level difference, but the difference in strength between the two sides may be more than double. It is not that easy to surpass the next level, not to mention when the opponents are all geniuses. Ahem, I didn't expect it. I don't know anything about Taishan. I have gained a lot of knowledge by making friends with people like Xiang Tai. He laughed dryly, forgetting even his elegant way of speaking. There is no such thing as Mount Tai. You and I are destined to meet each other. To say this is quite chilling. Jia Yan responded with a smile, but the other party didn't notice that from beginning to end, Jia Yan never called him brother, only friend. Because when it comes to talking about it, it is impossible for the two of them to belong to the same level. No matter how good Jia Yan is to the other party, he cannot hide the fact that the other party is inferior to him by several levels. Calling him a friend is already too high a compliment. Coming. Hey, you are an assassin, right? Just wait, our venerable mid-level geniuses from Planet City have already arrived. You are destined to never win again. The audience quickly became excited. Because not long after the host issued the invitation mission to fight Jia Yan, there were middle-level powerful men from outside the competition venue. The number of people far exceeded the number of people competing in the afternoon. Because they were all curious, which outsider had the courage to challenge them beyond the ranks. Ever since, the first match between Jia Yan and the mid-level Venerable Benet took place under such lively conditions. In fact, the current situation is more lively than the previous situation. This Planet City area has not been as lively as a cross-level challenge for a long time. Many people came all the way here after hearing the news. Just watch the excitement. After all, the Strong Challenger tournament happens every year, but the cross-level challenger is a rare event in 10 years. Now that I have the opportunity to watch it, even people who don't usually like to watch genius battles are willing to spend some ticket money to come and watch it. Fan. Beat that outsider who knows nothing about heaven and earth to death. Kill him. Look at how dare he underestimate our planet city. Jia Yan stood on the ring, silently listening to the noisy shouts and curses around him. Although it was an away game, these spectators were probably a little too excited and scolded them to the point where they didn't feel very happy. Sorry, friend, the people in our city are too enthusiastic. The player on the opposite side is quite elegant and speaks in a refined manner, similar to the fish-headed monster. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletin U. Chapter 2940. No need to apologize, just start the game soon. Jia Yan shook his head. Heh, then as my friend wishes, defeat. This person starts fighting without speaking, and has no martial ethics. He was already prepared for Jia Yanhui's strong psychological thoughts. But after the actual attack, he was still shocked. Because this kind of strength is far beyond his imagination. Bang. After 3 moves, this middle-level venerable who claimed to be 1 level better than Jia Yan was kicked off the stage by Jia Yan in an understatement. Next. When the uproar came to an abrupt end, Jia Yan's calm voice resounded in everyone's ears. It's like a slap in the face, it makes the person's heart hurt. This guy is really that strong. Is it fake? Why can the venerable intermediate level be solved with 3 moves? Could it be that he is letting his guard down? The unheard of shocking achievements appeared in front of the audience. Everyone was silent and didn't know what to say. Obviously, even if the venerable mid-level powerhouses in their own planet city release water, they cannot do it in such a low-tech manner. Especially those top experts, such as the 4 or 5 stellar masters who are quite prestigious in the audience, their eyes suddenly became serious. Even the stellar masters paid so much attention to their performance. This shows that the challenger assassin, by no means a general person. The next one, is the 11th ranked venerable intermediate ranker, Negi Shizi. He is a potential newcomer at the venerable intermediate level, and he has no experience in dealing with weaklings. Mr. Assassin, please pay attention to your own safety. The host's eyes were extremely solemn, and the implication was that the next contestant might do something dirty. But will Jia Yan care about this? Regardless of whether you are evil or ruthless, it is all meaningless to him. Young kid with a yellow mouth, the venerable junior level came to challenge me, the venerable intermediate level. You are so ignorant. Boom. The 11th strong man who looked awesome was even more simple. He didn't even finish his cruel words when he came on stage. He was directly hit on the head and Jia Yan's monkey punch knocked him off the stage. Goodbye Jia Yan won, and the audience was completely silent. Some people may have thought that this outsider talent would be able to win a few games against the venerable's mid-level young talents. But no one thought that he would win so easily and freely. The 11 people who have high hopes are unable to hinder Jia Yan even a little bit. Is this so-called first level of venerable a bit too outrageous? Some powerful stars looked at Jia Yan with strange eyes. But the ordinary viewers were filled with indignation. The reputation of this planet city has been built up by a large number of local young talents. They still remember that more than 100 years ago, the 127th young man who won the intermediate rank of the All-Star Territory Master returned to that sense of honor and pride in my hometown. But today, even after more than 100 years have passed, there is actually a foreign genius who has trampled the glory of their area into the ground and rubbed it. It's simply unbearable. Tomorrow, I will definitely make him look good tomorrow. If all the geniuses in our planet city hadn't been promoted in the last generation, this guy would definitely not be able to please him. I think he only dares to come here to show off his power just because he is staring at the sage-level geniuses of our planet city. When Jia Yan defeated the 2 great mid-level beings without realizing it, and the host announced that today's arena match was over and everyone was waiting for breakfast tomorrow, there were many busy people in the audience leaving the venue. They are still thinking about whether there is something wrong with the defeat of the venerable primary level beings in Planet City, or there is some inside story. Anyway, it would be difficult to make them believe that the junior and middle-level young talents in Planet City would be defeated by the same person. Because it's like their belief. Assassin, wait a moment. When Jia Yan and the extremely excited fish-headed monster were discussing where to go to drink and spend the waiting night, someone chased them out from behind. He is a stellar powerhouse. Meet Senior. The fish-headed monster seemed to know the other person, and his expression immediately turned into a formal one. This star level must have a high prestige in this area. I've met seniors, but I don't know what they are worth. Jia Yan also nodded meaningfully. The one that came was several kilometers in size. Compared to Jia Yan's clone, which was only half a kilometer in size, it was much larger. However, this stellar powerhouse was holding his breath and concentrating. After carefully observing Jia Yan for a few times, he said calmly, "Assassin, you are probably not coming to our Jianghu Star territory to challenge young talents on behalf of an unknown person. The purpose is to become famous, or do you want to do something else? What's going on?" Not surprisingly, Jia Yan chuckled. "If you perform so outstandingly, you will naturally attract the other party's observation. After all, such a genius doesn't appear out of thin air. Especially if you walk on the path of genius, you should walk on countless corpses and fame of the same level. Therefore, in the eyes of the middle and high-level beings in this starry sky, Jia Yan should be a top genius from the outside world who works here anonymously. But the problem lies in anonymity. If Jia Yan makes any weird moves or has any bad thoughts, using this status as an excuse is very likely to cause harm to Jianghu Star territory. This stellar master must have come to inquire and observe. Generally speaking, the young talents with the initial level of the venerable are destined to be ashamed in front of the stellar level. Some people with ulterior motives will even expose themselves under great pressure. But this has nothing to do with Jia Yan. Senior, I really came to travel in your star field. However, during the trip, I learned about the specific process of the ring competition from this friend. So I felt itchy and went up to the stage to show off my embarrassment. Please don't ridicule me, senior." What Jia Yan said was impeccable. The other party fell into deep thought, looked deeply at Jia Yan, and then said slowly, "I don't care whether what you said is the truth, but our Jianghu Star territory has been standing for a long time, and problems cannot occur under ordinary circumstances. You'd better they are ordinary tourists, otherwise. Okay, you go back. I am looking forward to tomorrow's battle performance." After the stellar powerhouse finished speaking, he flew in the direction he came from without looking back. Valley. Brother Assassin, it seems that your performance in the competition scared even the star level. The strange fish creature sighed in a formal tone. "Why don't you advise me to put some water in tomorrow?" Jia Yan looked at him with some surprise. After being looked at by Jia Yan twice, the fish-headed monster shrank its neck, and then shook its head and said, "It is impossible to let you go, although we locals, you are the young talent who has surpassed our two major levels. It's quite unpleasant. However, this kind of competition has been going on for tens of thousands of years and has a lot of rules and regulations. Let alone ordinary citizens, even if the star-level senior just now really took measures to deal with you, he must be you will be arrested and severely punished soon. These are our laws and regulations." "I see. Is it the highest level of protection for young talents? This point should also be written down in a small notebook, so that it can be copied on the earth in the future." Jia Yan took out his notebook and recorded this entry in it. "Brother Assassin, are you still going to drink, or are you looking for a place to rest from the exhaustion of today's battle?" "No, tomorrow is just to deal with 3 intermediate sages. It's okay. No need to rest. Let's go have a drink." 3 middle-level venerables, they are not only intermediate venerables, they are also the top 3 intermediate venerables in our planet city. Yutu was completely helpless. "Do you dare to think that the existence that you once regarded as an idol is just a rank name in front of this guy who calls himself assassin? In other words, this assassin might not even look down upon the middle-level venerables of their planet city. This is too terrible." Thinking that the monkey creature in front of him might not necessarily lose even to the lower level of the venerable, he had the idea of establishing a deeper relationship with this person. "Don't talk about whether it will be beneficial in the future, just say that if you go out to chat with people and brag, your bragging will definitely be more impressive. Hey, we already talked about drinking, Why are you talking about this? From now on, until I go on the field to fight, you are not allowed to mention the so-called arena match. Let me ask you about other things, such as where is the best scenery in this Jianghu Star territory? And for example, what kind of strength that martial master might have, etc. Jia Yan hugged the fish-headed monster and pulled him until he could hardly breathe. Haha, okay, let's not talk about the game, let's chat. What the fish monster creature didn't know was that when he and Jia Yan entered the new tavern, a lot of the knowledge he spoke was completely absorbed by the monkey creature in front of him into his own knowledge system. He has an understanding of the power structure and has mastered the rough strength levels of the entire Jianghu star field system. So, Wu Zun, the old man, is a late-stage senior territory lord. No, if it weren't for the senior domain masters, our Jianghu star territory wouldn't be able to reach the vast frontier today. The fish-headed monster talks eloquently. It can be seen that he should have some family background, and he knows a lot of basic knowledge, which happened to be directly used and extracted by Jia Yan. He swallowed up a large number of Zhishengliu and learned from it. When they looked at the time drunkenly, they realized that they had been drinking all night and were about to usher in a new day of competition. I'm sorry, brother assassin, I didn't take your fatigue into consideration and kept you talking for so long. The fish monster was so drunk that it was difficult for him to walk straight. No need to apologize, let's show them how powerful we can win even when we're drunk. Jia Yan deliberately pretended to be a big-tongued man, and got into a good fight with each other. Not long after, the two noble juniors who had paid their bills went to the so-called competition venue together. The highlight of today's game is whether the foreign player assassin can welcome his strength verification battle, because the masters he has to deal with today are not comparable to those before. They are the three mid-level giants of the Venerable in this planet city. Aya, Bendai, Sokka. Three venerable middle-level creatures with strong auras walked from the player's channel to the edge of the ring. Under the introduction of the host, they gestured to the audience one by one. Jia Yan, on the other hand, appeared drunk after taking the stage, which aroused the anger of the host and his enemies, and the audience in the audience booed violently. Good guy, before the game even started, the local audience expressed the words home field advantage vividly. But Jia Yan is completely undisturbed. The top three in the venerable intermediate level. Jia Yan was focused on nothing else and looked at these powerful men. Unlike in the world of creation, where he could compete with some god-level powerhouses using the mid-level clones of the venerable. In this outer starry sky, the composition and structure of strong people, as well as the reasons for being strong, are all different. Therefore, by relying on a clone, he can directly hit any of the wise words of His Holiness, but this is not absolute. Of course, as a mid-level venerable, that's still casual. At least when he reached the peak of the venerable, and his talents were still the top geniuses in the center of the galaxy, his clones were already able to run rampant. Let me see what the so-called martial arts in this world is. Jia Yan smiled, and after taking the stage, he looked at the first contestant, the third among the venerable intermediate geniuses. The other party felt frightened. It certainly lives up to its reputation. Yesterday, he heard that on this arena, there was an outsider who could compete with the intermediate level of the venerable. He was also a little distracted. After all, for this Jianghu star territory, there are a lot of geniuses in this star territory, and the outside geniuses are either not as talented as the geniuses here, or they are not familiar with the rules of the arena in the Jianghu star territory, and they can often stir up troubles. Windy ones are very, very rare. And the person in front of me is probably one of the best. Look at my brainwave power bombing. The third player, after looking at Jia Yan for a few seconds, did not approach Jia Yan, but chose the long-distance brainwave power bombing move. Jia Yan originally looked at him because of his big muscles and round waist, and thought he was some kind of muscular melee fighter. Unexpectedly, he was bombarded by a wave of brainwave power as soon as he stared at him. Although he was a little surprised, he sneered with disdain. "What's wrong? Comparing your brainwave power with yourself? Brainwave power is called the spiritual power of things in the creative world, but there is a very fundamental difference between the two." Probably because his avatar has practiced too many related matters in the creative world, Jia Yan recently prefers to call the power of brainwaves spiritual power. And since it is spiritual power, what will be the outcome if a middle-level venerable character challenges the spiritual power of a senior domain lord with what he considers to be a powerful spiritual power? "Oh, I can't do anything else, but I just did this." Jia Yan was a bit dumbfounded. His mental power was transformed into brainwave power, and he collided hard with the venerable mid-level master in the air. Wow! The young talent of the middle-level sage had blood pouring from his mouth, his eyes were full of disbelief, and he staggered backwards and fell out. This stagger actually staggered out of the ring. Jia Yan strongly suspected that he did it on purpose. I admit defeat. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2941. The third place looked defeated. He has always been extremely confident in his mental power. After all, his family is strong in mental talent. He originally thought that even if he lost, it would be because his physical fitness was not up to standard or something else, but he never expected that this would happen. The battle was actually defeated by his most confident mental strength. It's like you beat a sprinter who is good at sprinting, and it hits the athlete the hardest in the sprint event in which he is most confident. Winner, Jia Yan. The host looked solemnly and announced the end of the game. Then he looked directly at Jia Yan and asked, "Jia Yan, do you still have the ability to fight? Can you continue?" In fact, he was deliberately cheating, because according to the regulations, even if the contestants were required to compete in a will battle, the one who chose to compete would at least have a training period of about 10 minutes between the two contests. However, the host and referee was worried that his own star field would lose too badly, so he started to play tricks that seemed reasonable. However, Jia Yan didn't care about this little trick at all, and nodded straightforwardly, "Go on. Then continue, Bendy, the second rank of the intermediate master. Come on." Amidst the fierce cheers, another handsome and strong creature that attracted everyone's attention walked up from the opposite side. The second place player should be a very popular character. Jia Yan clearly felt that the atmosphere in the audience was more enthusiastic than when the third place player came on the stage. However, the impression of popularity was completely absent from his face. With an intriguing expression on his face, he stepped onto the stage. "My friend, you are very strong, so strong that even I don't know if I can defeat you." He shook his head with a heavy expression, and then picked up his weapon, which was a metal stick-like weapon. The thing is very simple, but if this thing is in the hands of a monster close to a kilometer in size, it has a completely different meaning. If metal wants to withstand the ravages of such a huge thing, the technical content represented in it is by no means as easy as simply building a 1-kilometer-long rod. All in all, holding this weapon in his hand greatly increases his combat effectiveness. But what does this have to do with Jia Yan? There's no way the other party can beat me. You don't have any uneasy expression at all? Let me see if you are just pretending, or if you are really completely unfazed. The second one jumped up and swept his stick towards Jia Yan. When Jia Yan raised a monkey arm and blocked the strong man's full blow. Feeling the trembling of the stick, he exclaimed, "As expected, the technique you use with the stick must be quite extraordinary, otherwise it is very difficult for the exalted level to use weapons." Even though he said this, Jia Yan remained completely still, as if he was standing on a rock in the sea, which remained extremely strong no matter how the waves beat. The difference is huge. Who are you? Cheating. Countless people on the sidelines stood up from their chairs. Several star-level stars had sharp eyes, as if someone would rush to the field after making a judgment. Because they don't believe that there is someone who is one level weaker and can still stand in front of a strong person who uses weapons without evading. That's totally outrageous. Groan. The clash between the stick and the arm caused a roar that affected the entire venue. How about this? As if swatting away flies, Jia Yan swung the stick aside with one hand, causing the other party to stumble and almost fall off the stage. Fortunately he stood firm. But his eyes were wandering, and he didn't even have the courage to step forward again. The first place player, if you come together, you can save some time. Jia Yan rushed to another quite prestigious player in the audience and extended his monkey finger to tickle him. This kind of action is so provocative that it can make people angry. However, no one calls him arrogant anymore, because even if he is a little arrogant, it is still arrogance with no fear. Is it wrong to be arrogant if someone has this kind of strength? Under the stage, the first venerable middle-level powerhouse who seemed to be hiding something secretly remained silent for a long time, and finally let out a long sigh. Host, several referees, I think I can't deal with this assassin friend alone. If possible, I hope to join forces with Bendy, otherwise I will definitely lose. Wow, as soon as these words came out, the whole audience was shocked. People who are strong enough have long seen that there is a huge gap between Jia Yan and the top few strong men in the middle class of the venerable. However, the audience who are not strong enough still make up the majority, and they can't see the gap between the two sides at all. At that moment, someone yelled and cursed, saying that the number one player was a disgrace to the people of this planet city. The first placer smiled bitterly. Next, if Jia Yan does not get a good ranking in the Starfield competition, I am afraid that this kind of infamy will accompany him for the rest of his life. Weak character, coward, etc. But when he looked at the loyal and monkey-like strong man on the stage, he vaguely felt that if this man really participated in the Star Territory Young Talent competition, he would get a pretty good name, so his crime will be eluded. Go ahead. The referees just discussed it briefly and then nodded in agreement. As referees, they have a more vicious vision. They have long seen that the player named Assassin has a strange power in him. It seems that he only has the initial strength of the venerable, but after careful inspection, it is unfathomable. Presumably, there won't be much danger in dealing with one or two. They also took the opportunity to see where this person's limits were. The strong young man who came first took the stage with a sigh. There were various noises in the auditorium again. It's one thing not to let him go, but now that he's gone, it's also a subconscious option for the audience to cheer for their own players. Let's see how you, the foreign venerable junior genius, can deal with both of us at the same time. The two came on stage, and after the host announced various key points and precautions for the competition, the two quickly assumed a fighting stance. Although everyone knows that Jia Yan's strength is weird, now that they are on the field, they are not likely to give up easily. They still want to fight for this victory. Jia Yan was a little impressed. They knew they were far behind, but they still dared to continue fighting, which showed that their fighting spirit was stronger than imagined. Yes, this is the so-called glory of genius, right? Many young talents on the earth, because they do not have similar incentives, shout every day that the strong men of other civilizations will protect the people of the earth anyway, and then lose the motivation to work hard. If they develop a similar spirit, wouldn't they encourage themselves? Jia Yan learned another trick. In the future, we must tend to cultivate the self-esteem and pride of geniuses on earth. To put it bluntly, Jia Yan had never thought about similar issues before, and often sneered at the so-called geniuses everywhere who were extremely conceited. But now that I think about it, Are these so-called arrogant geniuses some kind of spiritual motivation method used by civilizations to cultivate their own geniuses? These are all good means. Jia Yan almost didn't say surrender directly, and then ran to the sidelines to take notes. Fortunately, he thought he still had some memory in his head. If he finished the battle quickly and copied it, he wouldn't forget it all. So time must be grasped. The two young talents got close very quickly. However, there was still fear in their eyes. Especially the second Bendy, who had almost numbed his hand with the stick just now, was so anxious that he was afraid that the stick would fall on Jia Yan's body. These two people have always been rivals and enemies. This is the first time they have cooperated. There is no so-called tacit understanding of cooperation. The first person clearly felt that the movements of the second person beside him became slow, and he suddenly understood something in his heart. But he ignored it and unleashed his strongest attack directly on Jia Yan with a fearless spirit. Bendy, you guy, do you know where the biggest disadvantage is for me? That's the word courage. Without this courage, you will never be able to surpass me, and you will even be pulled further and further away by me. The first person has an extremely strong look on his face. He was born on that kind of planet. After countless fights and hardships, he finally reached this point. However, he did not become a person who was greedy for life and afraid of death. On the contrary, he carried forward the courage of the jungle and the strong that he had trained on his home planet. Oh, this number one is not in vain. He has such strong courage and indomitable momentum, even I can feel it. After all, he is an intermediate level venerable being. Jia Yan felt the aura of this guy, and his face showed a slight color of affirmation. But it wasn't enough to worry him. Click. The two men rushed over, only to see Jia Yan adopt a retreat strategy when facing them for the first time. This is also the most obvious first time that Jia Yan has retreated in such a long time. The assassin players have retired. They are indeed the champions and runners-up. They actually forced the powerful masters who were difficult for everyone to resist to take a step back. The host made timely remarks that aroused the audience's emotions, as if Jia Yan was forced to take a step back, which was quite extraordinary. They have all forgotten that at the same moment yesterday, they expressed ridicule and contempt for Jia Yan's entry into the competition. Now, even the top two intermediate venerables in Planet City are able to force Jia Yan back a step, which is incredible. There is no way, this is called the world of the strong. Jia Yan's strength won the respect of everyone present, including the referee and host. Come again. On the other hand, Jia Yan's graceful retreat gave the two champions and runners-up extremely strong courage. The two looked at each other, and the second-place stickman, Bendai, also flew into the air in an instant. Ready for a real blow. When two swords are combined, their sharpness can cut through metal. These two people have been in love with each other and have been competing for the top two spots for countless years. It cannot be said that they are completely incapable of cooperating. At least after gaining some advantages, their attack pace has really become consistent. One person swung his claws down, and the other hit him with a stick. Jia Yan looked at the two sticks. He didn't feel frightened or excited. He just glanced at them lightly. These two little guys are really obsessed with each other. Do you think I can only retreat? He shook his head sarcastically. I saw a power suddenly blooming between the monkey's palms. Like air condensing. Field. How is it possible? Isn't the field an ability that only our star level can use? In the auditorium, those stars are going crazy. The power released in Jia Yan's palm is exactly the iconic power of the stellar level, the power of the field. Jia Yan still vaguely remembered that when he was wandering around the Orion Arm, especially when the Orion Arm encountered an encirclement and suppression battle last time, he had reached the peak combat power of half a star. At that time, he had the power of the domain, but he caused countless of shock. because he jumped up a level and gained the power of the field. The same is true today. The Venerable's initial level of domain power was like a stone that stirred up 1,000 waves, causing most of the people in the audience to stand up. The two people affected by the field felt as if they were under a restraining spell. The surrounding space became extremely sticky and their movements slowed down. This is the realm. What attribute field? Well, it seems that there are no attributes. Either he doesn't bother to use attributes, or he has not mastered the real field at all. The two communicated silently for a moment using the power of their brainwaves. Having said so much, only a moment has actually passed. Needless to say, you too. Now that I have used the power of my domain, it's time to say goodbye to you. Jia Yan didn't wait for them to finish speaking, then walked up to the two of them with a smile, raised his monkey fist lightly, and punched them one at a time in the face, hitting them until they knew why the flowers were so red and their bodies fell off the field. Poof, poof. The voices, almost in no particular order, caused the whole place to freeze quickly into silence. Then, there was a lot of noise. The sound wave almost blew off the roof of this arena. This was another close move, and in an instant, the two middle-level venerables were defeated. Who is this? Didn't I say that two intermediate genius-level venerables could possibly defeat even the strongest masters at the peak of the venerable level? As a result, a junior venerable came. Let alone defeat them, they couldn't even resist a few attacks. What is this thing called? Naughty. There's definitely something fishy, please give me a refund. Would something like this happen if there were no tricks? I don't believe that two venerable mid-level geniuses can't even catch each other's 10 moves. Damn it, I didn't expect that our city would also start to play games fixing tricks. I'm going to sue, to the Jianghu Alliance. If I don't kill you organizers, you will definitely do this again next time. The angry audience stood up one after another, shouting and yelling. However, no one scolded Jia Yan this time. In other words, even if they did, they were drowned in more angry scoldings of the organizers. The unusual result of the game caused them to be extremely angry with the organizer of the event in their city. Assassin player, please step down first, otherwise there may be a civil unrest. The host on the sidelines sighed and begged. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2942. Jia Yan smiled and walked off the stage as he was told. The fish-headed monster beside the ring has eyes wide open. Yesterday I learned that this new assassin brother was very strong. But he never thought that he would be so strong. Even the top two geniuses in the mid-level stellar ranks were killed in an instant. This is too exaggerated. In this way, I have obtained the ticket to enter the official competition of Jianghu, right? I won't stay in this Jianghu star field for too long. You can help me arrange the early competitions as soon as possible. The sooner the better, as long as it can be done. Are you here? Jia Yan asked the host calmly, as if he was unaware that the other party was a stellar powerhouse. What surprised the fish-headed monster even more was that the star-level senior didn't even get angry. He just nodded, indicating that the organizer of the event was willing to make arrangements for Jia Yan quickly. A star level, almost bowing to a novice venerable? The fish-headed monster almost swallowed its own fish head. He considers himself a scholar and has seen a lot of the world. After all, there is a golden house in the book and a beautiful face in the book. But there is no description in the book about the stellar attitude towards the venerable junior. Seeing that the other party was far away, Jia Yan turned around and took the friend he met on the way to a restaurant to eat and drink. Of course, it's not just the monkey clone on Jia Yan's side. Elsewhere, Jia Yan's numerous clones seemed to have self-awareness and were able to move freely, carrying out various investigations in various places. Contact between senior domain lords is no ordinary matter. Jia Yan could not forget that in order to deal with him, The white dolphin specially created a world to fight with him. He didn't want to cause the boat to capsize in the sewer because of his carelessness, so he was very cautious at this time. After investigating the information everywhere, he roughly collected the information on all the clones. This Jianghu Star Territory's method of doing things is quite refreshing. Jianghu Star Territory is said to be Jianghu Star Territory, but that was Jia Yan's own translation, replacing it with the concept of Earth. Although there are similarities between the two, they are also rational and absolutely in line with the laws of the Star Territory. For example, science and technology are less valued here than in other star fields, but at the same time, the strong ones are outnumbered. This shows that there is a network of mutually negative correlations. Let Eddie Shah, please help me investigate. There must be relevant research on this matter on the internet. Jia Yan has always believed that there is a certain complementary relationship between the power of science and the value of force. However, seeing that the research on force value in the starry sky and technology often contradict each other, he couldn't help but also extremely concerned. As for the Earth Alliance, there has been a stagnation situation where personal strength is affected by technology, and the situation is urgent. The giant Mosquito is deep in the subspace, while operating the key information of each clone, while continuing to provide a large amount of mental power to so many clones. Each of these clones seems to be engaged in a different job, but each one is doing far better than ordinary people. It is certain that it will attract unnecessary attention, but Jia Yan is indifferent to it. He just doesn't want to cause unnecessary discord with the martial lord here. Rather than fear him. If the avatar he wants to release becomes condescending to certain people and certain things in order to hide his identity, destroying his demeanor as a senior domain master, and even affecting his own spirit and strength, if his progress in strength is affected, Jia Yan would rather have a hearty battle with the so-called martial lord. He didn't believe he would lose. Because his mental power has entered another level, he firmly believes that it is almost impossible for a senior domain master to rival him. It's just that the problem of the mismatch between physical and mental strength is very serious. If you can avoid taking action, it's better not to take action. His idea is in line with the concept of the strong, because no strong person will let his clone suffer a big loss, or even grovel in order to remain anonymous. This emotion will infect the real body and may cause the real body to mental confusion. However, Jia Yan is different from others in one thing. This difference led to the consequences of what he did, which caused a large number of rumors in the entire Jianghu Star Territory. The difference is that he has too many clones. There are dozens of clones, each with a level above the venerable level, and even some of the clones have spiritual energy fluctuations that have reached a level close to the star level. This kind of strength cannot be said to be strong or weak. Especially the clone that was specially sent to perform certain tasks because it suited Jia Yan best. This is a clone of the black god Jia Yan who has the appearance of a young man from Earth. He is extremely handsome, but also has a vaguely terrifying aura. It seems that his brain fluctuation is close to stellar level, but to underestimate him just because of this would be a big mistake. Jia Yan personally used this clone as the dominant clone and fought a war with the white dolphins in the creation world for several years. Both in terms of fighting skills and controlling the energy of this clone, he is outstanding, and his strength is not at the same level as other clones. Ever since, the monkey-like clone was still striving to get close to the senior domain master in an honest way in the ring. The clone of the Black God here has already set foot in the Jianghu with the attitude of a young man on Earth. Yes, the formation of this Jianghu star field is similar to that of Jianghu, which shows that it is far more unique than the young talent list. Even the concepts of sect, Dongfu, martial arts faction, demon sect, etc. all exist. Yes, Wu Zun controls the entire Jianghu with his powerful force value, but the sects below are fighting against Jianghu, but not all of them will listen to Wu Zun's words. The domain lords controlled their respective sects' forces and set off large-scale fighting in the arena. Some powerful sects, even the orders of Wuzun, only listen to the announcement but not the instructions. Nowadays, the young man known as the Black God emerged from behind the demon sect who was being hunted during a fight between Jianghu sects. Black God, right? Your name is quite impressive, but I want to say, you saved us just now. Do you know what this means? A seriously injured monster in black looked at the human boy who was so small that it was only no bigger than his fingernails. Of course I know, does the demon sect? You are being hunted down along the way. What are you trying to protect? Jia Yan's Black God clone has a stern look in his eyes. The Black God, who has always been in a high position, does not need to deliberately pretend to be anything. A simple look can arouse a sense of awe in others. Guard our demon sect, a secret orb passed down from ancient times. Although this object is useless to other sects, it has great symbolic significance for our demon sect, so we must protect it. Black God, please go, we are very grateful for your generous action, but this matter is not something that you, the venerable level, can handle. A group of injured demon sect monsters, each wearing something like black clothes, with different sizes, some with genius level strength, while others are as huge as the monsters in front of them, about the first level of a star. They were fighting fiercely just now, and when they were about to be defeated, a shadow in black flew out, assisted from the side, and killed the star-level opponent. Originally, people in the demon sect thought that the black-clothed venerable peak the young man should be a fellow member of the demon sect, but unexpectedly, he was told that he was not from the demon sect, and he was not from the Jianghu star territory. This led to the above conversation. Venerable level. The boy in black smiled pleasantly but said nothing. Let's do this. After a long silence, he said, I will make an exchange with you. I will protect you when you enter the demon sect's territory. You need to send a demon sect star level to fight with me. As long as you can send one to defeat me, if it cannot be dispatched, then leave the so-called symbol of the demon sect to me for temporary safekeeping. What do you think? Huh? You are also here for my magic treasure. You bastard, who do you think you are, you want to attack my magic sect treasure? As soon as he finished speaking, many roaring sounds came from around the injured star. It seemed that if the Black God clone hadn't rescued them just now, maybe this group of indignant people would have rushed to fight Jia Yan. On the contrary, the star-level existence locked his eyes on the Black God clone for a long time, and finally asked lightly, can I ask you the reason for doing this? Reason? There is no need for a reason. I just heard you say that I am only at the venerable level and cannot care about your affairs. So I want to see how far I am from the so-called star level of your magic sect. This. The Stellar Master felt bad. Is the other person in your relationship angry just because you said something wrong? He wanted to say, was it too late to take back those words now? However, it is difficult to recover from overflowing water, and as a star level, he is not the kind of being who shows weakness to the Supreme Master. Since my friend is so interested in me, a star-level warrior from the demon sect, then that's as you wish, but no one else needs to take action. I'll recover from my injury as soon as possible, and then I'll have a duel with my friend. He shook his head and said. Looking at the earthling-looking young man in front of him, he could feel the surging vitality hidden by the opponent's venerable peak strength. He had already concluded that this was a young strong man who had not been severely beaten by society. Since the matter is very simple, he must not have any intention of harming himself and others, so he might as well accept the other party's wish, which will just allow this young man who has helped himself and others to understand the reality of this strong society. Grateful. The Black God clone sneered. The two sides calmed down their hostility and flew into the starry sky together. During the whole process, the beings of the demon sect were not only guarding against the so-called decent people around them who would continue to attack them, but they were also guarding against the Black God flying around everyone. Perhaps the previous pursuers did not call for reinforcements, so they were allowed to fly all the way to the new starry sky. Is this the so-called demon sex territory? It's a bit weird. After the black god Jia Yan stepped into the starry sky, he immediately felt some kind of weird aura. Yes, this is the territory occupied by our demon sect, but this is not the only territory occupied by the demon section. In fact, since the demon sect fell apart 5,000 years ago, there have been 12 forces claiming to be the demon sect, and we are just one of them. The other 11 branches are all different, and some have even turned to decent people. But don't underestimate our demon sect because of this. Our power can still control the wind and rain in the Jianghu star territory. Even the old man Wuzun will not be able to do so easily. He will touch the people in my demon section. One of the 12 branches of the demon sect? Black God Jia Yan just nodded, his expression still stern and stern. Judging from the way he looked around, he seemed to be still scrutinizing. Dozens of powerful demon sects looked at each other before someone said calmly, "Your Excellency Black God, now that you have arrived at my demon sect, are you still going to talk to us about the previous matters, conditions?" Black God silently turned around to look at the monster, his gaze making him feel like he was being spotted by a poisonous snake. "Why aren't you prepared? Do you want to default on your debt?" The other party couldn't help but shouted, "Don't you think about it, even if you can win, this is one of the 12 territories of our demon sect, even the domain lord level, so you are so sure that you will fight us here? Don't he said that it is impossible for you to win against the astral level. Even if you win, do you still want to take away the symbol of the demon sect? Why not?" Jia Yan's reply was brief, but it caused an uproar. This guy is mentally ill. I suggest that the higher UPS send an army over. No matter how strong he is, he can't possibly be able to match the strength of the army. Just drive him out. No matter what, this person has been a life-saving benefactor to us. The faces and attitudes of the powerful creatures are all different, but they can also tell a bit about life. Shut up. Suddenly, the star-level powerhouse shouted loudly. The whole place fell silent immediately. He stands out from the crowd. Your Excellency Black God, on the way back, I suppressed the injuries in my body. Although my final strength may not have returned to the middle level of a star, I can still exert my strength around the first level of a star. This is in line with the star you want. There is no conflict in the strength of a super strong person. Since you want to challenge my demon sect to the star level because of my next sentence, let me do it first, and please give me your advice. Jia Yan looked at this person silently. He realized that this guy was not willing to hand over the magic treasure to him, but also didn't want to break up with him directly, so he came up with a reason to fight on his own. In fact, the black god Jia Yan could detect his injuries, and I'm afraid he was probably only a master at the top of his game. Forget it, if you want to fight, I'll just accompany you. I'm afraid if I don't fight with you, you won't take my words seriously. Jia Yan smiled, and with a swishing sound, he came to the injured star-level powerful creature like a flash. With an air of certainty of victory, the other party wrote lightly, "Then you should be careful, Lord Black God." As a star-level powerhouse, and also a mid-level star, even if Jia Yan had assisted them, it would not prevent this powerhouse from feeling uncomfortable with Jia Yan's contempt for the star level. So while he took action personally, he also made plans to let the arrogant young man in front of him understand what a true star level was. Puff.